What up, everybody? Oh, I got my screen share up. Look at that production faux pas right out the gate. But hey, we here with Mitch, my man Mitch, continuing on from the epic call-in last week. I was like, Mitch, just come back to the whole Mitch episode, and it's going to be lit. You guys know what it is. Viiibrant. It's where we hang out, have fun, maybe even laugh about stuff. You know, the thing that is completely missing is spirituality, humor, and levity. And I'm sure Mitch has got some crazy stories for us on the peace path to removing all this geoengineering out of our life, which is such an amazing quest to be on. A couple quick things to remind everyone about. First of all, I've been doing super fun morning oracle card reads. So watch my YouTube and Rockfin pages if you want like 15 or 20-minute length daily updates on the universal cosmic, flow state info. It's pretty cool. Been loving it. And what else do I need to tell you about? Oh yeah, you can call in to Viiibrant, and I'm going to drop the Telegram channel that you can do your call-ins from as a link in the comments over here on YouTube. And Rockfin, see a lot of good people in the chat. Nikki, Jay Smith, Lehman, Conrad, Flores, Matakshay. I failed at that one last time too. Sorry. Snake Jones in the house. I think I saw Kabir on Rockfin, and Justin. Yeah, so we got a lot of big brains in the room, not just on the right side of the screen here with Mitch. Dude, okay, I'll shut up. What's up?
Hey everyone. I'm like sitting here, I'm listening through the names. I'm like, I can recognize them. Hey, how's it going? So yeah, no, I'm really excited to do this because I think just with the format and everything, there's been a lot of weird stuff going on. So I'm ready to laugh. I hope other people are ready to laugh and roll their eyes and just, not really blow minds, but just be like, what in the world? So there's a lot of what in the world going on, and I'm excited to share it. So it's a different perspective from my usual soapboxes where I'm like, go bust a tower. It's like, well, now, like, yeah, the pushback and the stories. Yeah. Compliments of my friend Carol. But
hey, she just popped up on the screen right when you said her name. How about that?
Hey, Carol. So yeah, no, it's just I'm looking forward to it. It'll be nice and hopefully a little more lively for myself. So yeah.
Yeah, this show's been way more lively. We already got a whole gang in here. So, right, I will drop that link in a second once I get Mitch talking about something else. You've been on adventures, right? I mean,
a little bit.
Start there? What do you want to do?
Yeah, sure. We can kind of dive right in. So yeah, no. Since the last time we spoke, we talked a little bit about I had this grandiose plan. I was going to travel across the West, and I have all kinds of weird plans, and I try to make most of them come to fruition. And this one, I did to some degree. Basically, traveling around the West. We decided the goal was to really go meet a friend in Idaho who lives up near the Canadian border. But in addition, we made a purpose out of it, and that was to gift Orgonite, to bust towers all the way up there. So we went through Utah, a little bit of Montana, over to Idaho. We went all the way around Idaho, came back down, went back through different parts of Utah. And then we ended up shooting over to Nevada, to that cluster thing of towers, and then we came home. And so it was about 11 days.
I think it's worse on those flat states.
I mean, plan. You know what you told me, we're like, it's called Viiibrant. I will just tell you bluntly, I don't like Nevada. It is a battery.
Doesn't seem cool. I'm sorry if anyone out there.
And actually, I have friends who live there, and there are parts of it that are beautiful, that are very secluded. The parts we went to the battery, the literal battery. It's nothing but desert and power lines, and that's Vegas, and around the Hoover Dam and Lake Mead, which I know we'll talk about, because I have a call to action that I would love for the world to hear. Because yeah, it's a shit show, to be honest, and there's a lot going on with the water supply, the rain, precipitation, all that. We're wonderful down here in Arizona. I mean, not to sound cocky, but like I had set out to do the Earth Pipe project, Earth Pipes Across Arizona. We have had our second spring. We are still having that. I know that.
Right here. This is someone who dropped this in the call-in group who's from Arizona.
I'm so glad you showed that, because, okay, so those wildflowers, I will tell you, if you want to see something cool, start down here in Arizona and go north. those wildflowers are growing on the side of the road all the way up there. There were parts, I mean, this stuff was growing out of the rocks in Utah where it looked like we were in we were on Mars. You know, my partner driving was like, look around, like, do you notice anything? And it's like, yeah, we're on Mars right now, if you can catch where I'm going with that. And this stuff's growing out of the rocks. It's growing everywhere. The drought they're talking about, like, you know, I'm not denying that fires exist, but what I am saying is the batch of nonsense that has been perpetuated all summer long about drought is not true. There are places that are typically more heavily populated that are being told it's dry, that are being targeted, that are, you know, it's all about get them in the cities, punish the cities, put all hell break loose on the cities, and then everyone thinks that's how the rest of the world works, and that's just, it's stupid. And it was a gift to be able to go on these travels, because to see, I mean, I was just dumbfounded at, like, I don't know why I was surprised, but it was just fields of wildflowers. I mean, this was through Utah, through Idaho, through Montana. And it wasn't until we got to Nevada that things changed a little bit, but mostly just because we were driving along the bottom of the ocean, and that's a whole other can of worms. There's nothing growing there yet. So, yeah, no, but the flower boom is crazy. I know you've had Gordy on other episodes talking about the butterflies. When I was talking about the butterflies too.
He said
and
he also brought back owls. Like,
yeah, so, well, I don't have
hanging out near it now.
Yeah, he sent me a couple of pictures. And actually today he was sending me pictures. They're, you know, magically now working on some towers as if something's wrong. But they
figure it out.
No, because we already talked, and I'm like
stuck on the mechanistic side of thinking to figure it out.
Well, when your overlord sends you to do their work, they can only fill you in on so much, and so it's a matter of
much, you know, you're not
exactly. That's the other thing. Some people have asked me before. They're like, you know, aren't you worried people are going to dig this up? And I'm like, on what planet do you think that somebody is going to go through that? First of all, this is assuming anyone will ever find them, and they won't. But yeah, who's going to do that work as the minion? It's like, no. And you'd have to let too much out of the bag as far as the truth to tell people what they're doing.
Like, why does this even matter?
Exactly. You know, and actually, you know, a real common question even to this day is about do people see them? You know, how do you hide these things? How do you gift these things? And it's imagine it's no different than when you're looking at the sky and you're like, you see what's going on, and the person next to you is like, what are you looking at? Like, and you're like, the chemtrails? And they're like, I don't see it. And it's like, well, why not? Because it's a completely different frequency. They're on a different bandwidth. I mean, now I'd say they're on a completely different timeline, but it's different. So they can't see this stuff. I mean, I remember the first time I started looking at the orgonite, like when I bought some from a guy in California, and I looked at it and I was just like, there's something in almost like I was like in a trance looking at it, because it's so peculiar looking when you see it the first time. You're like, what in the world is this? It's, you know that you recognize a shape, but it's just like, it looks so off. Until then, now it's, you know, it's everywhere here. So I mean,
I tell this story a lot, but about not being able to see the chemtrails. But one time there was an eclipse here in Missouri, total eclipse in 2017. And I was at a big festival where people were gathered on a hilltop to watch the totality. During this big event. And I was one of the few people that didn't wear the dumb sunglasses. And as the solar disk was coming uncovered from the node, I won't say the moon, because I don't think it's the moon. Right when that light started to pop out, a plane intersected with the light right as it emerged. And that plane was just happening to spray huge billowing pink clouds and covered up the sun as soon as it became, you know, as soon as it was a new sun. And you got to think about, you know, this is something I've realized since then, in more occult traditions of considering the moon. When they say there's a new moon because the moon leaves and comes back, they mean it's a new moon. Like, that's not the same moon. And anyway, it made me wonder, is that similar concept in effect when the sun is completely removed from the sky every once in a while? Is it a new sun? I mean, you can kind of still see the sun. It's a corona and all that, but the energy of that moment is pretty crazy. And I turned and looked at a lot of people and I was like, did you see that plane fly right in front of the sun right when the corona became uncovered? And they're like, what plane? What? And I was like, I actually found photographic evidence of it. Someone else did see it and was taking a picture, which was pretty lucky, but it was weird. Anyway, back to you, Mitch.
You know, I actually remember watching that outside. I worked down in the Loop, the Chicago Loop, and it was just outside the Sears Tower. And I'd been I knew it was coming. At that point, it was 2017, so I knew what to expect with the moon cycles. And I thought, if there's an eclipse, they're going to block this thing as best they can. Otherwise, people would see that it is not what they say.
Alan's got a question for you real quick.
Yeah.
It's on the screen.
Oh, yeah. What should I know? Oh, man.
He's considering organ donation.
Yeah. How many hours do you have, Alan? It's so at the simplest thing, you know, since the last time actually, Chance, that we talked, I got this tutorial up online on how to make certain things. I had other things up there for how to make like those really large chem busters. I just added a thing on how to make, it's a video tutorial on how to make earth pipes, which are in the same fashion as what I've been making for my project. Because I'm making so many, I had to keep it economical and as easy as possible. So I would say start with some of these resources on how to make it. If you want to go that route, I know you can buy it too. And a lot of people, like I'm in this current battle right now trying to figure out, like, I would love to sell all the orgonite in the world, but I can't. And also, you know, I'm of the Don Croft school that this wasn't a technology we were supposed to profit off of. It's supposed to be for everybody. So, you know, I would say the best thing you could do is to start with, you know, how do I make these things? Start paying attention to the towers. A lot of people ask, how do I locate towers? Where do I find them? And a lot of them want to pull up these apps and look at things online. And it's like, my recommendation is don't do that. My recommendation is look up. You're never gonna miss them. You'll never ever miss them. And so, you know, I had started working on a gifting page I need to finish, basically on how to identify these targets. And it's, you know, I get emails all the time from people that are like, is this a tower? Is this a tower? And it's like, you know, it's a tower. Like it's some form of, I mean, if it's a Bluetooth headset that's in your ear right now, that is part of the, I'm laughing right now actually because of a conversation today. Sorry. But like the Apple AirPods, that creates that same HARP fence. The Wi-Fi router. Oh shoot! Sorry, Gordy.
Those on. I'm calling it out. Quit using that shit.
I'll look the other way. But yeah, I mean, you know, you've got, like, for example, you know, those ball the ball shaped towers. That's a big one actually that I would love to. The NORAD ones. The NextRad. So it's the next generation radar technology.
There's one near my house.
There's one near.
But it's by an airport, so it's like scary to like go gift over there.
Yeah, I mean, you can get closer to those things. A lot of the times,
you know, I always right under it, right? It could actually just
no, not with an earth pipe, because the range on earth pipe. So like in the Oregon community, or it's not really a community, but in the general consensus that's been collected over the years is that the range of these things is about 1/4 of a mile, and in which it will begin to affect whatever the EMF device is. I have found that's fairly accurate, but with earth pipes, I think it's far more magnified because there's something going on with the conductivity of the soil. It's tapping into that earth grid the same way that the towers are tapping into that earth grid. So like if you can't get near what it is you want to gift, you can go around and you'll be able to find another way. And a lot of people have a hard time with what I'm about to say. I say get creative. You will get creative once you start doing this. I know, like, oh no, I can't help myself.
We don't get creative around here.
I've been programmed to never think for myself. And so it really is that simplistic. And the reason I say it that way for a lot of reasons, which I want to go into with the more rant than the vibe part of this episode, because of things that have things that have happened since, you know, last week I was on a show called Alpha Vedic, and
yeah, that's a big one, isn't it? Or like a cool one. I've heard good things.
They were awesome. I had a blast. Really exceeded my expectations. However, I literally have been tethered to my computer answering emails for the last week, and I can't. I'm almost ready to throw in the towel. I can't
You
keep
need your
up.
own minions, dude.
But the stuff that has
My guy's got
happened.
minions. You need some minions.
I mean, but I've had people come and buy out. Like, I mean, I know I'm on target somewhere. It's like you always know when you're on target. Like I was on target years ago when the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission told Etsy, shut down his shop. I've been on target like a lot of people when you're making chembusters and you see Mr. Smith make a visit and you've got the black helicopters. So a lot of people freak out about this stuff, and I would tell them, don't waste your time. Don't get on that vibration, because it's all psychological. It's a bunch of BS. However,
Can I add to this, Mitch?
Yeah.
It's actually totally safe to just not be afraid.
Exactly.
Like we have this fear thing because we think it'll protect us from the scary boogeyman that we've had it beat into our head our whole life, that the boogeyman can just get you at any time from out of the shadows. But actually, energy, frequency, and vibration is the only thing that's real. And so that means your energy is the most real part of the whole reality. And that also has everything to do with what someone maybe could or couldn't do to you. Because when you go into a fear state of they're going to get me, you're literally giving consent to the universe to like, okay, well, if that's what you want, well, they'll get you then, it's not like that.
Exactly.
I don't know. That's my take.
It's another one of the parts that I say is it's more simplistic than you think. And I will actually say, while I have people's attention, please don't email me or message me and say, aren't you afraid they're going to get you? Stop projecting that energy on anybody. I don't care if it's me or somebody else. It's a terrible thing to say. It's a terrible thing to ask, and it's frankly pretty rude.
And if you're that worried about Mitch, then why don't everybody just start doing it? And then
that's the other thing.
It's like, what's the point of going after one?
That's the other thing. I mean, the thing people like when people ask me, are you a targeted individual? If you are a human being right now, you are a targeted individual. It is where your role is in whatever role you're playing. But look around. I mean, we know we're in this battle for the soul. We're in this battle for consciousness. I'll use the word battle. I'm not afraid of like those types of terms and whatnot. And also, by the way, I got to say to Mr. MG, who I wasn't familiar with before this show, but thank you for your compliment. I was very proud of the Earth Pipe episode. There are some doozies in there. I try to make things.
The how to make them one.
How to make them, yeah.
I've got that queued up. We could watch a little bit of that. Oops, wrong.
I mean,
I do have it.
Yeah, unless you have the beeper, like the sensor beep sound ready to go. Because I mean, there's a few explicatives and jokes and whatnot.
Dude, you're on Vibrant. This isn't Sunday school.
I'm just saying, I think after the last episode we did on InnerVerse, I promised I would.
You were self-conscious about the cursing, whatever.
Well, it's just me.
But I want people to know that video exists. Let's just at least show them that there's a YouTube channel called Mitch, or called the Orgone Donor - Mitch, and it's a paltry 247 subscribers, and you guys could bump that up. And
I will say, I didn't
mean to belittle it, but like you need way more subscribers on here because here's clutch information. So there's a concise, only 13 minutes long video that will give you the information on how to make earth pipes. I mean, that's the most asked question probably.
It has been. The next one up will be the Tower Busters.
I'll drop a link in the chats too.
The Tower Buster one. It should be up soon, but I'm like, I have to do things in a certain way where I'm like, this ain't funny enough. I don't know. It's a serious topic, and I know people freak out, and it's like, I want it to be light. I want it to be fun. I want it to be memorable. I will say too, I always host everything on my website through YouTube, and for a lot of my videos, I keep them unlisted because I have found over the years it prevents certain algors from finding things or slapping their stupid comments on them. Like if you look at my videos, most of my videos in the subject or in the text, wherever you put the description, I say like, for full context of this video, go to the website, because on my website it's included with like all the descriptives and the whole purpose and rhyme and reason behind it. It's kind of like why on Instagram at this point, a lot of people complain about how I am private on there, and I don't like to have to be, but there were too many days I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be sorting through some of the most disgusting disturbing messages from people that I know are just doing it for the sake of like, you know, fuggling up my page. And I'm like, this is dumb. I'm not gonna deal with this. And you know, I also, anytime someone friends me or wants to follow me, I go through and I make sure, like, if I can't verify you're a human, I don't want to deal with it. So a lot of people now, their friends actually tell them, like, and I'll get these messages. They say like, my friend told me to message you ahead of time and say, I want to follow you. So can I please follow you on Instagram? That's great. Just because then I know, like, my following on Instagram, I'm like, I have a batch of humans here who actually give a crap about what it is that I'm saying. And I have found that just has kept me less censored. I go through less issues with uploading things and shadow bans and it, you know, we all know how algorithms are working, and or we know what they're we know what they're meant to do. So it's just kind of like there's certain ways to minimize things. I think I'll have to reevaluate it because I can't be one of those people that has a lot of followers, or I'll just get, you know, zucked or whatever. So I don't know. It's a catch-22. I'm not even sure what to do. I always tell people, go to my website. That's where the juice is. So, but no, in the last week, I wanted to say that since that episode had aired and going through all these emails, I have had 4 offers to basically bribe me to death. I had one person that I'm pretty sure was a robot that wanted control of it. So the person was unemployed, wanted to help, loved my work. They always loved my work. I'm like, that's great. And they thought, since I don't have a job right now, they said, I would love to help you with your social media, and I could help with updating your website and maintaining your correspondence and all that stuff. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to give an absolute perfect stranger access to my entire image and my entire everything I've worked on for all these years. Yes, that would be genius idea. And so sometimes I test the water and I reply to these people, but there was one who dangled a bunch of money in front of me, and I know it was fake. And it really, like, this last week has been a really interesting learning experience. Actually, I'm not, I'll be honest about, like, with Carol, our friend we talk about, she has actually helped me to siphon through a lot of this stuff. Because I'm like, I got to bring in somebody I trust to help me with a lot of this. Like, I want to be able to answer people's questions, and I've just been reworking as much as I can on my website, because I'm like, I had no idea. I've been talking to a brick wall for, you know, like the first 4 years or so. And then over the last year and a half, people started paying attention. And I will say, like, when
I know how that is kind of same.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard, when you first reached out to me, and I was just kind of like, this guy's
also thanks to Carol. I'll say.
Exactly.
She's the one who's like, you guys need to know each other.
Yeah, well, and it
happened.
I mean, it actually, in a way, I mean, no, everything's connected. No, everyone knows this, but that introduction leading to you, and then to Lindsay, and this whole thing, it was like floodgates had opened up, that helped the floodgates open up. And to do this trip going up through the West, like, it was like she's moving somewhere at the same time we want to go through this area. You know, Carol came to visit us for it felt like 2 weeks. Sorry, Carol. It was actually only like a week, but she came here. We had a blast making earth pipes and taught her how to make stuff. And she's just been like, she's one of those people that's just like, I have to do something with this whole thing. And so she came here, and we had a blast building up the supply for this trip. By the time I left, it was like 1,500 pipes in the car. But we were going one way, and she had gone another. I don't want to give too many details for, like, certain privacy reasons, but
how much does that even weigh? 1,500 pipes.
Enough that it sinks a rental car to the ground. I mean, it's a lot. And
boat's almost underwater.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It about killed me, to the point that having gone through this experience and seeing all of the towers, seeing what was going on with the smoke, which wasn't really smoke. Nothing. We never smelled smoke once for 3,700 miles.
I want to talk about this a little more.
Yeah.
I have something I forgot to say that's really important. You were talking about getting random offers to be bought out and bribed.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know what I get all the time? Like 10 times in the last couple of months, I've gotten pleading requests. Will you please promote our ball shaving technology on your show and be an affiliate for our ball shavers? Smooth balls. Yeah.
Wow.
I just had to make sure everyone knew that. That's how
Why
big
don't
time
I?
I am, that I'm getting the Chinese ball shaving companies hitting me up.
Yeah, you should forward them to me. Tell them I'll do it. I mean,
Okay.
I'll mess around with them for a while. With the
Thank
people,
you
I
for
mean, not the
allowing me
ball
that.
shavers. No, actually, you know, I got one. This will sound low vibe, and I don't mean it that way because I take this subject very seriously. But I am getting certain emails. Like one I got, drive it like you rented it. I had a person write to me, and they said that it was really sad. Their son, if they were lying, I'm upset. But they said that their son was suicidal, and they demanded some free orgonite, and that you know, basically were saying like if they didn't get it, that he wasn't going to be here next year.
That's
And I've
such
been
gaslighting
it
bullshit.
has. I've had a lot of gaslighting, and you'd be shocked. I mean, like, I know I would never have to worry about this with like you or your group. I see the Telegram group. I see my name get thrown around. Everybody's like supportive and fun and funny, and it's just awesome. But there's another world out there, and I get these messages, and you'd be shocked how many people not only ask for free shit but demand it. Like, and I've had like just send the address. They send their mailing address. Like, you can send it here, thank you, and then they walk away satisfied. I'm like, first of all, who the hell are you? And it's like, or they'll say like, hey, I saw you on such and such. Oh my god, I absolutely love you. I put my address below. You can send the earth pipes there. And I'm like, and they live in like Montana or Maine, or they live on the other side of the country. And I'm like, did you not even hear, like, you're not even in the same state as me? It's just weird. There's a lot of strange messages that come through. And you know, people say really weird things. What's this say? I'm right on, Snake.
Yeah, Mitch, I don't know. I mean, you're in a sunny area. If you're not sunning those balls, you're missing out
I
on a lot of testosterone. It
had
might help you
no
carry all those
idea.
earth pipes to the car.
Now, if I had known this was the subject, I would have done this episode a long time ago. No, yeah. So anyway, where was I about the trip, or about gaslighting?
Where I wanted to go was talk about how the fires are not even real.
I just want to say, like, hey, that's my friend Fox, who is fantastic. And I was telling Chance about one of my friends who's been he's basically been by my side with this for, I don't know how many years we've been doing it now, 5, 6, at least 5. And she is down in Alabama, and we talk every day. We compare notes, we compare stories, we compare meteorologists and the nonsense and the scripts and that kind of stuff. And yeah, she's like my I don't know, I joke Maverick and Goose or Ace or whatever the hell it is, that I don't know, some movie that had like a 2-hour gay volleyball thing going on. But I say she's sort of like my wingman, and we have a lot of fun with that. So anyway, that's Fox, if you ever hear me talking about Fox. But
I've
anyway,
seen Fox follow you to previous live streams that we've done.
oh yeah, she's super. Yeah, really. I mean, I'm very lucky, and it's just everything we have going on. Like, we do certain science experiments too, where we know we're affecting each other's sky, and that's a whole other can of worms that I know is like, this isn't, you know, whatever. People can go to my website. There's going to be a lot of things that I'm revamping, like right now. One of them being the tutorials that are going up, and the how to gift, you know, what to do, how to make a sucker punch if you want to have one of those, or if you want to, where you can get one. What I think is happening for myself now that Arizona is soaked, you know, after going west and looking around where all these towers are, we've gotten a better handle on figuring out like what all we're dealing with. And I want to put these pleas out to other people, certain locations where people should go and be gifting if you live in this area or that area. And it's, you know, I bit off far more than I could chew, thinking like, I mean, I didn't think I was going to save the entire Western US from cell towers, but I was very impressed with how much this agenda has progressed. It's insane.
It seems like it's a lot more possible than theoretical would have made you imagine. You know, now that like a year has happened in Arizona, in a year, it's outrageous.
I mean, it's
outrageous.
For me, I'm really glad I set out to do what I was going to do here in Arizona for this reason. I needed to have a receipt to show other people, and so that then they can, because I have friends in Utah that do this. I've got friends in Idaho. I don't know that anyone is like as anal retentive about it, I guess, as myself, with exception to my friend Fox, like as a dedicated gifter. There's a ton of gifters that are out there. There's a lot in Texas that I know of. I hear from people all the time, and so like it's interesting to keep an eye on the weather throughout the country and see, when something happens. I know, like the Texas snowstorm last winter, everybody's talking about fake snow, and that was a whole other nonsensical thing that I wrote very deeply about on my website. But I knew why it happened or how it happened, and by deductive reasoning, that's what some of us are like looking around at everybody, and we're like, no, this is going on because there are people in certain places doing certain things. And so, one of the things I see that needs to be done right now, especially in the West, they're talking about how all these states that rely on Lake Mead and Lake Powell here in Arizona, but Mead is up but more close to Utah and Nevada. It's like outside Vegas, and it's a battery, and the amount of towers there is insane. I mean, literally I felt like the whole state of Nevada was nothing but flat rock or flat desert and power lines. And if it wasn't power lines, it was windmills, which I don't care, call me crazy. Windmills are nothing but disguised cell towers. They do nothing but power themselves to be
Gabriel,
cell
real
towers.
quick, someone out there named Gabriel needs to answer me on the Rockfin chat. What part of the territories is Nevada? Which card is that? I'll watch for your answer. Curious about that. That's a side thing.
Yeah.
Territories. Gabe's got this cool presentation he's been unfolding of mapping the major arcana of the tarot to the states and regions of the United States, and it's pretty interesting. The further I go looking at that work of his, the more I'm like, there's something to this, and then it might explain what's up with Nevada, or at least reflect it.
To Mr. Is it Montoshiel, whatever, said New York or Nevada feels soulless to me. I mean, like I said, there are beautiful parts. It's like everywhere. I thought when I got to Arizona, there were a lot of places here that felt soulless to me. Now it's booming, and the energy is completely different. We had visitors this weekend who unexpected, but they were visiting from around San Francisco, and they texted me one day, found my number, and they were like, Mitch, we're passing through town. They ended up coming here, 3 days in a row. They came over and to talk about how Arizona, they were so shocked at the energy, how it was different, that everywhere they went around here felt so much better. They were planning to move here at some point, and they were on the fence because they said it just felt so toxic for so long. And so I guess what I'm getting at is like,
and just to give people a little backup on that, Arizona was like, I mean, that was where they're going to dim the sun. That was the experiment to dim the sun.
Yeah.
The geoengineering agenda is strong in Arizona for some reason. And deserts are not natural.
No, they are not. And I don't have the visual aid with me right now, but The Contact with Space book, that's the one people should read. If you're going to pick one book by Reich, pick Contact with Space. He talks about the deserts. In fact, actually, it was in Matt's movie, Frankenskies, I had mentioned in the episode with him that, I almost fell out of my chair watching that movie because I was expecting it to be like all the other ones that I am not fond of, because they're all physical only. They only touch on the physical, and they're all fear porn with no solution to offer. And his was the first time that it talked about solutions. And there was a very particular gentleman who talked about Wilhelm Reich and said that deserts are not natural, and explained very, very briefly, but explained why. And I just sat here with my jaw dropped, like, holy shit, somebody actually said it. Like, oh, and I kind of like breathed a sigh of relief, because I was a little on the fence. I mean, and this is nothing personal towards Matt at all. I was like, please don't let this be like every other movie. And it wasn't like every other movie. So I was very happy to see that. But I think if more people could understand the terraforming that goes on, and we've talked about the resets and all that stuff, we've just been reset a million times. We're just we're being reset again. We're just alive for it right now.
This week was Michelle Gibson, and we talked about some of the Antiquitech stuff and how the way these old world buildings were constructed tapped into the earth grid. And so in
Yeah.
my opinion, that pairs really nicely with maybe helping somebody start to get the picture of why what earth pipes are doing actually matters. And especially at the very least, like if you don't buy that earth pipes are helping, at least understand that cell towers are not just there to give you the ability to look at cat videos on your phone when you're not on Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
Right?
to me, I think it's just they're changing the energy signature of the planet. We change the energy signature back. And anywhere, I think anywhere, if you look at the placement, this was what was so interesting traveling across all these states. When you look at where the towers are, it's just, I was constantly rolling my eyes. I'm like, of course, of course, of course, of course, everywhere you go, and especially along waterways and at the tops of these peaks. But you know, one thing I wanted to touch on too, and this is not meant to be a I don't want to come off sounding like I'm jabbing at where people live, but there are places where certain people live that they need to do this work. And one of those places I couldn't believe was Salt Lake City, Utah. I had to get the hell out of that place. We drove through it twice. We ended up staying in Park City. We gifted a little bit. And of course I had like, I mean, I had the car was loaded with the big guns of everything I could cram in there. There was more organite than there was luggage or anything else. But it was just horrifying. And I have my own personal beliefs on why Salt Lake City is so important with the towers. There's a cell tower on every single corner of Salt Lake City, and driving through it, I swear to God, I was just like, after a half hour of driving like 80 miles an hour, I'm looking at my partner. I'm like, are you seriously still driving through this town? Can we get out of this town? And fortunately, I mean, we gifted a little bit. I have a friend who lives there that's been gifting, and it's a lot. It's a lot for one person to do. Interestingly enough, the whole time we were driving, the entire trip, there was a bubble over us because I have 3 of these harmonizers, like the copper thing I just showed you, where we blast these frequencies out and they leach onto the HARP network. And they're strong enough to do certain things, but only for so long if they're going to hit back with something harder and harder and harder because you're pissing them off. I mean, it's a never-ending battle, which is why it's important. You got to go to the root of the problem, and that's the tower itself. You know, you could get a chem buster and put it in your yard, the big tall tower things, and they're great, but you still got towers feeding the electrosmog into the atmosphere that your chem buster is going to be wasting time on that instead of producing rain clouds like it should. And so driving through the town, you know, a lot of it cleared out. When we got into Park City, the whole city was, you know, blanketed with this smog that you couldn't see the skyline. Every single place we stayed, though, I mean, every place, the morning after, when we were getting ready to check out of our hotel and leave town, it was clear. And I know it was because a lot of this stuff was clearing that out, that it was a jolt to the system. And it ended up raining. I think they had a little bit of a flash flood there, actually. It was like 12 hours after we left or something. My friend texts me and he's like, Mitch, the sky hasn't been this clear all summer. I haven't seen the mountains. He was like really taken back at being able to see the mountains and how the air was cleaner. And of course, they're going to immediately go to town trying to repair all of the crap they had done that got broken down in the same way we go and try and repair everything that we've worked on. So, you know, it's one of those places, like, that's something I want to basically share with people more is, you know, does anyone live here? Does anyone live there? And, you know, my friend in Salt Lake, I mean, I guess actually there's a gentleman and his mom, I think, that are gifting. And then my friend Eric is there too, but it's just not enough. There need to be like all hands on deck. And the only reason the Arizona thing worked for me was because I mean, it's been 3 years we've been here. I've been in a positive sense, I've practically been a Nazi about it. I have befriended everyone I can and established really good relationships with people. I mean, there's at least 50 people that I can send a box of 100 earth pipes and all of these instructions and tips and this back and forth that goes on for months. And in a way, it's more time than a full-time job trying to orchestrate all of this stuff. And so,
You're like the vibe father. It's like the Orgone Mafia.
I just
like
hate,
said in the chat.
You will never find another human being that I think who hates the government more than me. That's how I feel. I mean, I know that's actually cocky to say. I
We
shouldn't
all
say it
hate
like
them.
that. I'm just like,
I'm just kidding.
yeah. I
I
mean,
love them. I
it's
love
such,
everybody, especially the government. Hey,
it's
look
just
at this
such
real quick. This
bullshit.
is Salt Lake City, the largest pipe organ
That's,
ever.
yeah. And you know where that is? Is that at
The
the
tabernacle.
temple?
Yeah.
Um,
Magic
it's,
underpants.
I mean, this
But look how
isn't
big
meant.
that thing is.
Yeah.
There's something up with that on the same level of technology as the earth pipes. And I don't even think, I don't know. Do you think the Mormons found a way to like knock it out of tune and make it evil? Or do you think that it's still doing good stuff and that's why people are into it?
Well, there
Mormonism
was,
over there.
I mean, I've seen videos about like this topic, the reason they call it an organ, and in relation to our organs and the tunes. I mean, everything's frequency. It's inside of something with pillars and copper spires and monoatomic elements. It's like,
Looks like dicks in the
there's
middle.
a reason.
Double dicks.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that one right out of the gutter. So I actually wanted to answer a question real quick for somebody, just because they had asked where the best place was to get shavings. Um, Obviously, you can go online to places like something simplistic like eBay. You're going to be able to find like, buy 5 or 10 pounds of something, and that's going to give you the opportunity to make a very large batch of tower busters right out of the gate. For those who are on a budget, this is where it gets a little, you got to be more creative with it. When I was in Chicago when I started, I contacted like anywhere that cuts keys. I contacted, like I went around to the kiosks, I think, that were at all the stores. And then I started getting pushback from that. And so then someone suggested locksmiths. And I actually had locksmiths on hand that would call me once a month. And they were like, hey, Mitch, the cans are full, come pick them up. And so I did that for a while. It got to be a bit much because riding around Chicago on a bike and doing this, and I had a very important job at the time for my Matrix job that required too much time. But you can go to anywhere you can cut keys. You can also go to brake repair shops. So they do rotor shavings where they cut or they grind down rotors. Those work really well. I had a goofy old guy who was a mechanic that every month I go in, and they were just, he's a very jolly old man, go in with a box of donuts for all the guys. And it's like, I'd sit there for half an hour at the lathe machine with my gloves and my mask on and collect so much of this stuff to lug home on my bike. I couldn't ride the bike home. I had to just use the bike to hold it up and take these buckets. So there's a couple options. Be friends with a metal fabricator. I don't know who all is cutting for what reason, but as long as the shavings are like the size of pencil sharpener shavings or smaller, those are perfect. If they're bigger than that, that's not the end of the world. But I use Fleck, and I have a very particular place I get mine from. It's as of right now, it's a little bit limited, and it's getting harder to do. Those are what I use in the tops of those ones, like what you got. In fact,
This is top shelf right here. He made this one pretty with my birthstone and stuff in it. It's not just functional.
I'd hope to have mine. I made 3 of those, I think, for you, and then I made a 4th one for myself. And the other
I
day,
need to send you a bag of the metal shavings from my mom's business. That's
you know what?
Stainless steel polisher. They're really fine, so it's like really powdery. So
those
I
are
don't know if it's good.
perfect. Yeah, those are perfect. But
Bro,
you know what?
I need to send you some.
Here,
I have,
actually,
like, access to infinite.
Here's what I'd prefer. Actually, if this is all right, I'd like you to hold on to those, and let's find someone else who's going to need them more. Because I
literally could get infinite of it unless.
Okay, well then I feel like that's something, like that's another one of the things I want to have more of these conversations about, because I know the materials are not always easy for people to get. You can bypass it by buying things online, but I know that there is a demographic. So there's people like me who gift. I'm not the only one, but there is, as we all know, there is no shortage of people who are selling Orgonite, and they're selling it for astronomical amounts of money. And so that has caused this shakeup in a lot of those shaving sources where, like, I mean, I saw when I started, you could get a 10-pound box or whatever, a large flat rate box or whatever, about that size. And the metal itself was like pennies. And then now people, it can go for $20. And it's like, well, what happened? And it's like, oh, they figured out, like, there's a lot of people jumped on the crystal woo-woo train. And so it became more difficult. Also, a lot of places, if you go to like a brake repair shop, you're going to do better at a mom and pop's place. My tip to people would be, tell them that you are working on a science project, not an art project. Nobody likes artists. They love scientists because trust the science. But just tell them whatever. You can tell them whatever. But if people ask me, they're like, what do you say? I used to tell people, I said I was working on a science experiment that was meant to make devices that were to protect people from EMF radiation. And it was based on Nikola Tesla's work. Don't even say Wilhelm Reich. You say those words and you just say them you can say them in a jumbled mess together, and people are kind of dumb. They don't pay. Oh, Tesla. Oh, I know there's a car like that. So, it's
reminds me of Dylan. Today he was like, as soon as someone tells me I trust the science, the thing I ask them is, can you name the 3 constituent parts of a scientific experiment? And then, because you really love science, right?
Maybe. Well, actually, I know I'm sitting here and I'm like, it's like being asked on the street. If I say it, I'm going to say something wrong and I'm going to mess up.
I'm not asking you. Who gives a shit?
No, I know, but now
it's funny to hit them with that. But I gotta address something from the chat here that I think that is a good potential, gravy train area. So Novaterra brought up the organism.
Mm-hmm.
The reason Reich called it orgone is because it is the same energy as what blows your mind during orgasm. It's literally like charge, universal life force energy is sexy energy. Like it's the same thing. Yeah. It's a real thing. So just keep that in mind. Like the better, like your libido is a good gauge of whether or not you're properly in flow with your energy system. That's a good gauge, honestly. Like I was saying a minute ago, your vibe is everything. That's the only thing that's real, in a sense. And not that like this whole world is an illusion, but I mean, what happens out here and how it all goes down for you completely due to your energy, whatever that's like. So anyway, orgone energy, bioelectricity, all that sexual creative force energy, like orgone is the base one that all these other types of energy, mental, physical, and the different denominations we could list out, that all comes from that. So
I think with what's going on right now, we all know, again, battle for the soul or the consciousness. But with what we see with like the clot shot going on right now,
I like to call it the cowpoke. Clot shot is really good. I'm going to use that sometimes too.
I changed between either clot shot or poison dart. I took poison dart from Tony Sayers, but I
use cowpoke because it's my original. I claim
right on.
I'm not means cow in Latin.
Oh,
VACCA is cow.
No, I mean, I'm pretending to be surprised. I totally get it.
I figured you did. You're a smart guy.
Yeah, what was I going to say though? Now I lost my train of thought.
I'm good at that.
Oh, thank you for. I mean, this isn't related to the comment, but it says I'm a walking, talking orgasm. With what's going on, think about what's going on with infertility. It's. A lot of people, I've seen this in the last couple of years, and I've seen it as the tower busting has gone up, the vilifying of Wilhelm Reich from the sexual standpoint has also gone up. And I think that campaign kind of died out because there wasn't enough to run with, but it's the idea of the sexual energy. So people think they get pervy and they get giggly and they, are immature about it. But if you think about it from the standpoint that the life energy that carries everything with it and keeps everything in balance, an orgasm of sexual energy with your partner and this energy balance exchange, it's a very natural process. So with that life energy, you need that level of life energy in order to conceive. It is not just as simple as the mechanics of what they say with conceiving a child. So when you get the cowpoke and you are now infertile, it's like, does it simply flip a switch and say now you're infertile, or is there a life force? It's on an etheric level. It's much deeper. That's what I think. And it's taking that life force away. And I see this in other in other things with, like, in the case of these wildflowers, the wildflower boom we saw, most of them were sunflowers. I grow sunflowers quite a bit.
That blooming thing is orgasmic too, and just a different type of life force.
Form. The
because
same
when the flower's
energy.
blooming, it's like pollen
Yeah.
and
When
hit
we
it,
had
you know.
our, yeah, when we had our
It's an
monsoons,
orgasm of flowers,
yeah,
a
as soon as we had
beautygasm.
the first monsoon sent everything into fruiting and budding, and everything opened up. And in the case of all these flowers we saw on the road that were these sunflowers, so I learned about, I mean, just within the last few years of growing them, that I didn't know that dandelions were a sunflower. And sunflowers, they'll follow the sun and they require nothing. We grow them in the crappiest clay and they grow. All you got to do is water them and put them in the sun. If they can't find the sun on a cloudy day, they will look at each other. They will seek out with a frequency to find each other. And I don't know what's going on, probably a little, sexual tension or something. But learning about this with dandelions, I thought, okay, now isn't it interesting that like the number one weed that we call a weed, that is the most bothersome weed, is this dandelion, which is a sunflower. And the number one food murdering corporation, whatever, Frankenfood, makes a contraption or makes a chemical that is designed specifically to target that specific weed. And that weed of dandelions is one of the most nutritious, nutrient dense, detoxifying. I mean, it is a universal perfect thing. And they're weeds. They'll grow wherever they need to grow. I mean, there's an old saying that dandelions will grow wherever they're supposed to grow.
To
Sunflowers will
expand
grow
on that, there's
anywhere.
anthropologists who have like studied native tribes who live in a hunter-gatherer style. And
Hmm.
it's been a hypothesis among anthropologists that it's a little too woo to get fully accepted, but that whatever the tribe needed most for
Hmm.
whatever type of deficiency or health issue was running around in their circle,
Hmm.
nature would just start putting extra of that plant near them. It would
Hmm.
just start to happen because this is
Yeah.
all one life here. And it's like
Yeah.
we're in a body, and that body wants to, just like your cells would move. If it had extra of one thing and the other part of your body needed it and your body was working correctly, it would move it from there to there.
Hmm.
Everything is about communication and interconnectivity. And one thing for sure that the geoengineering is all about is interrupting that connectivity and communication
Exactly.
and
Well, and
hijacking it.
I think that's the same thing as, I mean, the same interruption that comes from something like Roundup, and that it is targeted to. I mean, a lot of weeds are actually some of the most nutrient dense plants that we have, and most people, it's like they have a lawn and they grow, then these things grow in, and it's like kill it with fire, and it's like you're putting a signal. It's like I've noticed when I water my sunflowers, and I mean I have a strip of them on the back of our back wall and a side wall around our property, and when I water them, you feel little bursts of wind, and there are cloudy days or hazy days where it's like they have a similar effect to when I would like spray the garden hose on my chem busters. A lot of people maybe haven't heard this, maybe they have, that you can douse your chem busters, the big guns, with your garden hose, and it's going to ground that out through the groundwater, and you'll get little quick burst reactions of things. You get the same effect from the sunflowers, and I think it's, they're sending out a signal as they touch that water, which is going through the hose, which is going into the water supply. And yeah, it's I don't really, I guess I don't know what I'm getting at, other than I just find it interesting that this life force, these plants that are so beneficial, and this stuff that's meant to kill it, it's like everything is really attacking the life force of it. It's not just give it cancer, it's something else. It's turning off the essence of whatever.
It's
And
vampiric in a
exactly.
way. Yeah.
Exactly. And we've talked about how you can convert genetically modified crap back into heirlooms within a few generations. You use soils with high conductors like volcanic rock powders, things like
It
azomite.
self-corrects.
Exactly. It's what we're
Yeah.
doing. It's what we're doing right now. It's
It's all
why
your
the
body needs. It's all the earth needs is just be left the hell alone and given the nutrients required, and then it'll correct itself. That's a true story. Yeah.
it's the yeah, no, it's the reason for the cowpoke. It's the, I mean, one of a million. I mean, I know this is all endless layers, but when you think about like what they're shutting off, it's like humans are waking up. We know this. Some, not all. Some maybe aren't supposed to, but they have to put the cat back in the bag, or whatever the phrase is. And the only way to do that now is on a genetic level, which is why everything's attacked on a genetic level. That includes the food, and that includes us. And so we're always going to be reverting back to that. These tools go by that. What they are doing essentially is reverting the horrible energy fields that come off these towers, where every time it's like, oh, we got high vibes over here, put a tower. We've got water and people curing everything over here, put a tower. We've got nature rebuilding itself, put a tower over there, you know. And so it's just a constant battle trying to turn that back on. And so I know a lot of people would disagree with me with what I'm about to say, but I think that if you can create a strong enough energy field, then whatever they throw at you is irrelevant. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm also like going through some of these. So many people have such interesting things to say. I'm sorry. I'm like I'm watching and
oh yeah, just
talking at the same time.
you can't keep up. They're so rapid fire. I love you guys. I'm throwing them up on the channel and trying to like mostly listen to Mitch, but
I have
make
to
sure
say,
that the Rockfin people
Alex.
can see all this sick commentary from YouTube. And the
Yeah.
Rockfin people, that's really, if everyone was on Rockfin, you could all see each other chat there, and then I wouldn't have to put comments on the screen, and you'd all be somewhere other than Gulag for this video. But you know, I didn't really let people know it's on Rockfin too. It's free over there. I'm not even asking for anything. Okay, so there was one that came up here on the list of commentary that I wanted to get in.
Yeah.
And that was this great question from, oh, who asked this question? Basically, the question was, do you get a benefit from using Orgonite when meditating and or lucid dreaming, that type of jam?
I think so. I think you do. And actually, there's a couple answers to this. If you go to my website, at the top of the page,
I would have just said fuck around and find out.
Well, yeah, fuck around and find. Well, yes, the answer is yes. The short answer is yes. The long answer is yes. But go to my website and look under the Orgone Energy tab and scroll down to where it says the Water Song. That's a meditation I got from around here in Arizona. She's known as Hummingbird. If you live around here and you're into any of this stuff, you probably crossed her path. Hummingbird is an off-the-grid nomad who stops by my house once a month and picks up a lot of these things, and she's helped me gift too. She lives in her van down by the river, and she's just a free spirit. She's one of the most free spirited people you will ever meet. And she taught me this song that this tribe used to use to structure their water, and then they would send it to Masaru Emoto to evaluate, and he was showing that it was structuring this water. I do that exercise of this song, not all the time, but I do it a lot. I do it when I know there's potential for rain. I have seen a boost in rain cloud production when I'm doing something called ether damming, where you are building a wall of ether, like you're damming up a wall of ether, and it against the jet stream that will then, once you stop, it will be released, and with it, it will carry those rain clouds. It will build up this momentum. You can build up lightning, you can build up rain clouds, you can burst rain clouds. It's something I want to talk about more as I progress with this, because it's been a challenge just getting people to bust towers. That then because like what we're using something like this. This is a power wand that goes into a frequency generator. I blast a whole. This thing's too heavy. I blast a lot of shit into there, and you do these rotations against the jet stream of clockwise rotations. Depending on if you're between the solstice, depending on the time of the year, it actually is about to reverse, not because of the equinox, but it's around the equinox. I think that the energy, there's some things you have to do differently. I would tell people, go look up a gentleman by the name of Trevor James Constable. I think a lot of people have heard of him. And there were experiments that the U.S. Navy used to do where you can build up rain clouds without it having, it doesn't matter what the pressure system is, low pressure, high pressure. You can break up tornadoes, which I think would come in handy for some people, because I'm sure that the tornado alley fuckery is probably coming this next year too. If not already. I mean,
the only move they've got in my region is the big tornadoes and flash floods, I guess.
I would love
ice storms. They get those.
I would love to have, so one of the things actually that can happen, one of the reactions I've had was hail. And I would love to have, if you bust a lot of towers, like Chance, if you were to go out with like 200 tower busters and spend like a weekend going around around the city and just knocking out as much as you could, there's a really good chance that you're going to get hail. Because you get these huge drops in the temperature in the atmosphere. It takes, it gets a little rocky, actually. It's one of the reasons I had written this blog article about the snowstorm in Texas where everybody else was freaking out. And I'm like, no, this is a reaction. I know 50 people in Texas that are all gifting, and they're all gifting quite a bit. So it's like, and Texas is over oil fields, which I think in the same way that that orgonite affects water as an energy conductor, oil has a life force. It's a living organism, and that's why orgonite works. This is derived from oil, and I know there's a lot of the back and forth. I don't have time. I don't have time anymore for the arguments of people that want to try and justify or say it's bad. It's a necessary evil, and people who my thing is the towers are not going anywhere, so you're going to want something that can withstand the elements and does what it needs to do for as long as it can do that. So, I just tell people, get off your high horse, I guess. But anyway, just you would have a lot of these reactions. And one of the things I would like to do over the next maybe 3 to 6 months is get more people to do this activity and to do it simultaneously, because I'm fairly convinced. I've done this with my friend Fox, or I guess I forget what, the serpent underneath is her name on here. But we've done this at the same time, and we've both seen reactions. I feel like if everybody was doing it, or a bunch of people in different states, I think we could knock out the water issue, change the energy signature immediately, burst the rain clouds left and right. I don't think they would waste. Maybe they would waste their time sending out the Doom Patrol to go through the sky and try to zap that stuff, but it would shift things dramatically. In fact, I think they might even just like flip the red switch because they say, fuck it, we give up, and if we're going down, we're taking you with us. That's what I feel sometimes. So anyway, yeah, if anyone who's interested in ether damming, I would say I would love an opportunity to explain it. But the thing I would ask first, if you can see in the back corner right here, this pole, there we go. My motor skills are terrible. That pole right there is 8 feet tall. It has 21 quartz points inside, far more than it needs, but it's a giant earth pipe essentially. And I will stand on my driveway or in my garage or whatever, and I will rotate that thing, and I'll do different exercises with it, or I'll use this one, or I have another one. And it just depends I have different reasons for using different ones, but I would just tell people, like, if you can make a contraption that is a pole, it can be, I would say, make it a minimum of 3 feet, make it up to however long, to where you will still be able to hold it with your hand and with your wrist and support it without hurting yourself. And you fill it with orgonite. So you fill it with your resonant metals, like you're making kind of like an earth pipe. You probably just want to use aluminum to keep it light, or you want to use just the shavings. You don't want to use like dense, heavy powder. And then you'd want to put crystal points that will always point out the same direction, because that whatever direction they're pointing is the way that you are going to be using this thing to do your clockwise rotations as you're aiming either against the ether or you're going with the jet stream. And it depends. Sometimes it will go clockwise, sometimes it will go counterclockwise. And it's something I've just been experimenting with over the last like 2 or 3 years. When I first figured it out, I remember, I was just jumping for joy. And I was like, oh man, fuck, man, this is a game changer. But it has been one of the hardest things to try and even begin to explain. This is the most I've ever explained it, other than to my friend Fox. So anyway, if that's something that interests anybody, I would love for other people to be ambitious and to play with this, and also look up Trevor James Constable. Look what they did out in the sea. There were what they were doing was rotating these different contraptions on their boat, on the ship, that were made out of aluminum. And they were stirring up and agitating the ether, kind of like a chembuster, slightly different method, but similar results. And it's the idea of kind of like stirring the pot, and then the pot explodes. And so anyway, yeah, it's a whole other can of worms, and I don't want to dictate too much of the conversation to go to that, but yeah, if anyone's interested, figure out a way to make basically a really long earth pipe, and then contact me and let me know when you're ready, and I will be happy to have an in-depth conversation and explain everything. Like, try this, make these write down these observations, compare notes, whatever, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, Mitch is really kind with his time if you're not a shill.
Yeah, I'm kind. I'm even kind to the robots apparently, because they still, hey. Yeah, no, I'm kind to everybody, or I try to be. I am getting away. I think one of the things is I want to get away from so much of the explaining the gifting stuff, which is why the tutorials are going up, why the gifting 101. I'll have a whole page about that. Things that are a little more tailored, because I saw a couple of questions here too, where they're like, is this just how to make it, or like, what do I do? And I know it's a very overwhelming thing, but this might be a really good explanation, or really good time to ask our lovely friend here, since she kind of got into this through me, and what it's like getting it. Like we've drug Carol with us and been like, all right, let's go bust some shit. So like, explain what it's like and what happens and what to expect. So.
Oh, sure. I can talk about that. So
wait, Carol, I just got to say, we finally got you on here for real. Good stuff. Thanks for that tip earlier on Rockfin. I mean, you're calling in, you're leaving a tip, supporting Mitch like crazy. You might just be the greatest of all time. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if anyone else wants to give me a tip on Rockfin, I wouldn't mind getting more video game money from them. That'd be cool.
Matrix participation tokens. That's what my friend always calls them.
Yeah, you throw a lot of good work out there, Chance. Yeah, I love your daily card pull, actually.
Oh, thanks. Those are so cool. I feel like there's something special happening there, and we'll see how long my stamina of making a video every morning goes. But it's getting easier, not harder, because I'm streamlining it. So
yeah,
it's cool.
They're beautiful, actually. I really look forward to it. So I will say, when I started gifting, I did it alone, and it's like super frustrating. But
scare them right away, Carol.
We want the truth. Just tell it like it is.
Yeah. So in Longmont, there was a NOAA center that had these huge communication satellites, and all around the property, it's like fenced off. You can't enter into the property because it's all lasers.
And just for the record too, I want to chime in and say, all she has done is gifted this. All you're doing is gifting. That's the key word. You're gifting. Gifting.
Yeah,
just
gifting. Taxable.
Yeah, just gifting. So anyway, please carry on.
Yeah. So I just pulled over off the side of the road with my shovel to dig a hole and gift something. But like, when you're alone and you're trying to dig a hole and you're female, like I feel like my upper body strength gets a little like the lack of it. I could feel
it. You lift enough earth pipes into the rental car, you should be fine. Eventually,
I know.
You'll get strong.
Yeah. So it's a good experience, and it gives you kind of like a little bit of like a adrenaline rush.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to like know that instantly the weather changes, like the wind kicks in. Sometimes you'll see rain. After I left Mitch's house, when I was there for, I think, a little over a week, me and my son gifted along the Colorado River. So we actually started in Granby and went all the way down to Grand Junction, and we gifted the entire river. So it was fun. It was an entire day of gifting out in the river, being out in nature.
That's a crucial thing too, just to throw in that life force energy and water, some real connection there. So hitting those spots is definitely a bigger effect on the earth fractal.
Yeah. And so my son is 23 years old, and so he didn't know that much about orgone energy or like the orgone pipes or anything. So explaining it to him and telling him how it worked was really exciting. So I tell him like, hey, as soon as you plant these devices, you'll notice the wind. And sure enough, like, for him to see it in action, and he was like, what the hell? Like, what the fuck is this shit? He was like, why is it working? Like, blew his mind. So I got to send you some pictures, but he asked me to drop off some pipes with him when I headed back to Idaho. So I left a box of pipes so he could gift Fort Collins and continue doing it. And he bought a truck from one of his friends, and his friend actually climbs up 5G towers and installs whatever the hell they do. I don't know. Measures the microwave frequency that's coming out of it. So
Calibrates the death ray.
yeah. So his friend had put
Remember, nothing incriminating. Nothing incriminating. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So
yeah, you know, Alphabet's watching.
we can. Well, basically, what I'm saying is like I've learned the hard way, but I've learned that people fill in. I always tell them like fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks.
This is my show, and this
That's
is all
all.
satire. This is all play acting.
It's just for entertainment purposes. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you're right.
We're just vibrating.
Well,
sorry, but my son has a decal on the back of his truck of somebody that's climbing up a tower. That's it. They're climbing up a tower. It has like these little like frequencies coming out of it, and I just left him a bunch of earth pipes, and I was like, that's kind of a funny decal to have on the back. But anyway, it's fun work. It's fun to get into, and it's good to have like the tools on hand all the time, because you'll never know when you'll see something that you're like, that is perfect to gift. It was a great experience, and it was fun to share with my son.
And then we gifted all the way up from when we left here. We started with Moab. When we checked out at Moab and headed to Lava Hot Springs, it rained in Moab. And then we went to Lava Hot Springs. We gifted quite a bit there. When we left to head to your place, it rained in Lava Hot Springs then for, I think, 2 days. And then when we got to Coeur d'Alene, which was hazy, and had been, smoky, but not where you could actually smell smoke, but it looked hazy. We went out one night. I think, was that the first night we were there? Maybe, I forget.
Yeah,
wonderful. Well, I remember great tacos, and I'm pretty sure there were towers after that. So anyway, we went gifting, and Carol was actually the one that like, let's go bust some towers. So of course we did. And what was, I think maybe like 8 or 9, and by morning, it was raining, and it rained all day. And then you and my significant other went out and did some more. You guys got pretty high with your adventure that day. And I think I did a post on Instagram that day, just showing how it had rained, and it hadn't rained much there this summer at all. But Carol had told me too, when you first buried some of that first batch I sent you, you hit something significant. You hit a tower that was quite significant, that you said like it plummeted. I mean, we looked at your forecast, it dropped 55 or 60 degrees. It went from like 110 to 55 that night, and you're like, I'm in my pajama or in my sweatpants, and had to turn off the air conditioner. But do you remember that?
Yeah, I had to take a picture of the weather, because the weather forecast on my phone had like an extreme weather, like high heat, stay inside, danger warning on it. And that if it was on the forecast, but you could see the temperature dropping all the way to 55. And I was like, God, it feels like it's about to snow.
Yeah. I mean, that's when you do a bunch of stuff, or when you gift either something significant, or you just gift a lot at once, which would be significant, but you're more likely to see those kinds of reactions, the ones that are more undeniable. And in the case of the wind, for me, it was really hard to explain the wind thing. Like when you bury an earth pipe, it's not every single time. It depends where you are. But if you're burying an earth pipe for the first time in a place that is saturated with orgonite, you're probably not going to see quite the sudden reaction. But if you are gifting that around a place that has been, like, I mean, I'm not saying I did this, but like, I'm going to say like the Luxor Hotel that was next to us in Vegas, and that hellhole, or like the nuclear power plant that, it's just, there's a lot of really low vibratory places. You hit those earth pipes into the ground, and you can feel that shift. There's some that's even startled me over the years. And it's interesting. We took our friends gifting this winter, and we'd always talk about how that reaction happened. And it was finally when we were doing all these pipes that they saw it. And it was just it was just great to see their face.
I've had that happen to me when I come up on plant medicine or have spontaneous like illumination experiences. I don't know how else to describe it, where there's a wind effect when bioenergy shifts massively in a spot, and I've witnessed it without earth pipes. I'll just say that. Like, I know what you're talking about. I think I've done it before with myself.
Yeah. I mean, and not, obviously this isn't the only way to do that. I mean, I know that there's other methods.
Yeah, I
it's
mean, we're walking earth
energy
pipes is
work.
what I mean by
Yeah,
that. Like,
exactly. But it's just, yeah, I think it's sort of like the water test or the plant test. And it's really cool when a person, like you said with your son, to be able, it's like, holy shit, like
badass mom
there's
bonding experience.
and that too. Yeah, that's pretty badass. So, but yeah, it's always nice when somebody knows that when there's a there, and then they're going to keep going with it, because you can give them a puck or a pipe and they'll do. I have tons of people that, I get a lot of people to bury this stuff in their own yard, in their own property, and it makes a lot of things easy, especially for people who live around towers. Like, that's one of the best ways to gift. Friend whoever lives by the towers. But even when they do it, I'm like, I tell them, you don't have to believe, you don't have to agree. That's fine. I think it works better when you do. But I'll carry that weight, and I know it's working, and I know what happens. And this year with Arizona, all the people I gave it to who were naysayers, it's kind of in their face now. And I've had a lot of very kind messages about, like, wow, I had no idea, like, I didn't want to believe this, or I was really on the fence. So, and someone just asked me, by the way, about the plant test. So I just want to say, like, basically, if you put orgonite around plants, do seedling, do sprouting with and without having orgone devices around, and pay attention to the yield and the growth rate. Plants typically will grow faster. Bury an earth pipe in your garden. There are a lot of farmers actually in this area, or down south more, that have been burying pipes for us. And a friend of mine who's helped dramatically with that, he's gotten a lot of his friends who are farmers to do it too. So, it's kind of like the idea of planting during a new moon. If you plant during a new moon, you're going to have a bigger harvest, which I have a whole, I'll talk about that another time, but I think there's a reason why. Essentially, the energy field is more positive. It's more coherent with DNA. Also, my friend is saying if you try to sprout on top of a microwave, you won't. That is correct. So you can do the orgonite test with sprouting, with plants. You can also do it with water. I've shown, I don't know, I guess if anybody, do you think anyone hasn't seen the water test? Does anyone want to see the vortex thing?
Hold on, Derpington.
Okay.
I gotta address what's on the screen. It's really, you know what?
Oh, that's
you're right, dude.
You guys and your God.
Orgone energy is sexy. Like, if you bury earth pipes,
Seriously,
you're gonna
Mitch.
get more, sexy energy in your life. That's not even, I'm not even kidding, but this is funny. Great comment. Maybe my favorite of the night. This guy's been
I
on
have the
fire
same
tonight.
problem, Derpington.
Anyway, that was a good derail. Yeah, cool. Oh, cannabis bumper crop. Oh, hey, since I just totally took us off the flow state, let me play this voicemail from Gordy that I've been holding on to. It's not a long one. You guys up for a quick voicemail?
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, you guys remember, you can leave us messages. You don't even have to like call in and be live. But if you join the Telegram group I've linked, and I'll link it one more time, you could call in live and just talk to us. I don't care what about. Maybe we'll stay on topic, but here's the voicemail from Gordy, and I'll also link in the chat the Telegram group. It's cool to call in or leave voicemails.
Okay, my connection is sketchy out here. So, anyway, I was super skeptical of the orgone until I ordered some from Lindsay. Had a pretty powerful experience with my daughter and that. And so I heard Mitch again on Rogueways, and yeah, I think they're messing with me. But it's not anything new. Anyway, yeah, man, I gifted those 2 towers around my work, and my owl family came back. And
put pictures of the owls in the group, Gordy.
That's anecdotal evidence, but it's certainly sold me. So everybody, please donate to Mitch's cause if you can. He doesn't ask for anything, and so that means we should, because it's working. And if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, you will see all sorts of owls and flowers and butterflies and cool wildlife shit. It's very cool. It's at Gordy_TWO_shoes. Thanks, guys. Love you. Bye.
Wow.
I said they were messing
Well,
with him because he kept trying to
thank-
leave a voicemail and it kept not working. And anyway,
yeah. Thanks, Gordy. That was really sweet. That just literally melted my heart of stone. Actually,
yeah, you're a cold motherfucker.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm like, wow, that was really touching. Thank you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I like that story. Anyone that else has stories about Orgone stuff, that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, I got one that's it's mostly just about the butterflies. Everyone's heard about the a lot of people have heard about the butterflies. There are a lot, and it's been fantastic.
Talked about it last week a little bit.
But I have gotten a few emails from people because they end up on the windshield. There's a lot of butterflies in Arizona right now, and yeah, I don't know. It's like one of those, a catch-22. It's like a lot of nature, but it's like there's also a lot of rabbits going on, but then that also means there's a lot of food supply for other things. So, I've noticed an increase in the number of deer. We've been going for walks every day, and for a while, I mean, the building that's been going on in Sedona is ridiculous. It's been that way for years, I know, everywhere, but everyone's got walls around their properties, and it's just becoming more difficult for everything to get around. But you'll see I see the coyotes and the deer trotting around every day, and they're getting closer and closer now too. But then I also see a lot of signs that people put up about missing puppies. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe they got the same memo that we got, but yeah, there's a lot of coyotes and deer out here too, and javelina and whatnot. And they're getting a little ballsier with showing their faces around the people. So I don't know, it could be a coincidence, but
I think they'd be less ballsy if it's raining all the time and there's less sun on.
Well,
their
their
balls.
water. I think I mean, I don't know what all eats what, but I would imagine at least for the deer, there's more food growing out of the ground, of course. Around here too. Oh my God, the prickly pears. I mean, for people that have seen prickly pear, like they're usually the size of like little tiny golf balls if you're lucky, and they kind of have an off shade of burgundy, and these things are bright and huge. I mean, I'll put some pictures on my website of it under the Earth Pipe Project, because it is really telling. Like, we go for walks and they're in everybody's yard, but they're huge. They are just huge things. But of course the javelina like to eat those. And so, I mean, there's more food. There's a lot more food around. So it's amazing. Nature restores itself. Look at that. There's a natural food supply. Who'd have fucking thought, So it's just a friendly reminder that for those assholes that are trying to shut off the food supply and destroy everything with it, like, this helps to restore that.
This is a great dangling Chad. Nice catch, Kazi. That's good.
Yeah.
We needed you.
Did you guys end up explaining the smoke event?
Also, I noticed there's another voicemail on the line, and I'll get to it. It's just a longer one, so I want to save it for later.
Okay.
Oh, there's two more in there. Heck yeah.
Well, you know what? I have a question for, is it pronounced Kazi?
That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay. Because my question would be, was maybe there was something I missed. Was there a specific event, or are you talking about how we were talking about the smoke?
How fake the smoke
okay,
is.
Great.
They call it there's fires everywhere, but you go around and there's no fires. And where's the smoke coming from? And what's it have to do with the frequency fence? And yeah, I mean, I know.
Why isn't it clearing out like it normally used to 5 years ago?
So, Carol, I want to talk about how when you came to visit, let's see, when was that? It was mid-August.
Yep.
I think. And yeah, I think it was like, 8 days?
Yeah.
You drove from Idaho to Colorado to here back to Colorado, back to Idaho. We drove up through Utah, Idaho, back down. You then drove over with your counterpart through Washington, Oregon, and we ended up meeting down in Nevada. There was also a lot of driving through Montana for both of us. We saw haze. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, but you chime in and say that's a damn lie or not. But we both saw this haze. It was the electrosmog we're familiar with. Never smelled actual smoke, but it was as if there was a fire right there, but there was no
Right.
fire.
Yeah. There were some parts of Montana where it lightly smelled like a fire,
Mm-hmm.
but if they are, they're
Like few and
couldn't
far
see 'em.
between.
Yep.
I mean, for me, it was the weirdest thing was that every time we checked in and stayed overnight somewhere, and then the next morning that place would be clear. Every day that we left, within a day, then it was raining. And actually I just posted something on Instagram. I didn't even know this till today. Someone sent it to me that it was in Nevada, in Las Vegas. They had a really bad storm. I think it was like the day after we left or something.
Really?
And so it was like a wind. It looked like a sandstorm, but it was a monsoon. And of course they have different names for it. But I just thought
yeah,
it was
someone
interesting.
was posting and said that there was a hurricane in Nevada. And
That
I was
was
like,
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, so the reason I bring this up is like I saw this with Arizona and the smog that we had, or the haze that we had in May. And there were a couple of small fires. They use that haze, and I've talked about this before. They fill the atmosphere with this electrified smog, and then everything is so positively charged and ready to blaze that they can pull that smoke from very far away. Almost where I'm wondering if it's similar to how the planes can be everywhere, or what we think are planes can be everywhere in the sky. Are they going in and out of energy fields? Is there a teleportation component to this? And I know that might be a lot for some people to swallow, maybe not. But in the way that energy is transferred from one place to another, are they pulling some smoke from a fire that's orchestrated over on this side of the country to bring it over to this area? Because everywhere you go through with these devices, it's like start burying the pipes. And all of a sudden, it's like everywhere we went, it's like, oh, I guess they decided to put the fires out tonight while we were visiting this town, just all of a sudden. And it's like, no, it's all the devices. It's everything we buried and have distributed. I mean, it's like we went nuts.
You're messing up the energy lattice that this entire transmission's going on. Like,
yeah,
first of all, smoke would just dissipate in the air. It's the same way chemtrails work. You lose the frequency fencing, and then there's no way for this stuff to just like hang on that frequency, and it will just disappear in the big sky because the sky is big.
Yeah, I mean, how am I trying to explain this? The atmosphere is always cleaning itself. The earth is always, we live in this realm that is constantly cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. And it's like this stuff just sits there and lingers. Plus, if you look at the patterns of the haze, and then all of a sudden at night, everywhere we went at night, you can see the stars at night. It's like, you mean to tell me that it's this electrified fence during the day, and then at night, what? They put the fires out now for when you go to bed, and then when you wake up tomorrow, just in time for the sunrise to come up.
They want to throw it off balance because moonlight is actually corrosive in a sense. Not that the moon's like this evil thing, but moonlight decays, sunlight causes growth. It's entropy, centropy. Universe is always in balance between that cleaning and that degrading. But if you throw a screen up in front of the sunlight, dim the sun, you're just pointing us towards the direction of degradation without balancing back towards the centropy force.
Well, in the case of the smoke, it's very selective of the hours of the day that it decides to be outside. That's what I'll say. And a lot of people get very pissy at me because they're like, how dare you say, like, it's kind of like you say anything about, well, I won't get political, but you know what I mean. You know where I'd be going with this. They're all on board until you say that one thing, and then they're like, "How dare you? How dare you say that there aren't fires? I lost my home, or I have a friend." Usually, it's I have a friend of a friend of a friend whose roommates, mothers, or whatever. It's like getting the disease going around right now. It's never firsthand experience when
called
when you
cooties.
hear something, cooties. And so, and so, well, I like to use Dylan's term. I use Wuhan wiggle. That's my
Too many
favorite one so
syllables
far. Yeah, I
for
guess.
me. Cooties.
Um,
More ridiculous.
or yeah. Well, anyway, it's just this. Well, I was with the smoke, right? I lost my train of thought there. Um, with the smoke being as selective as it is, once we nailed all these pipes in the ground, we got stuff really under control by early June, mid-June. It's been clear all summer. There is no haze, and you could tell a definitive difference between going from Arizona to like across the Utah border. It was night and day, and so yeah, it's like this. Look at the smoke. Don't just look at what people are saying on the TV. Look at the actual smoke and how selective it is. Look at how selective it is during the time of day when it's most concentrated, where it moves in position to the sky. It's constantly following the sun. It's always following the sunrise and the sunset, which we already know are the prime time sun gazing hours, which I'm sure everyone would probably agree repairs DNA and does a whole plethora of beneficial things that would, that keep us at an advantage in this realm of poison. And so, yeah, it's just pay attention to the patterns. And so, because I think like the fires, like maybe in Oregon or in California, or sorry, in Oregon and California, like I know they're real. What I'm saying is that the fires are not as big as they're saying. The footage, I think they
There's
burned.
another connection back to Michelle Gibson's work too. Our most recent guest on the big show, InnerVerse. We have talked about in that episode a little bit the different ways that cities got destroyed in previous resets and how the magical fires and on the West Coast just taking out neighborhoods and stuff. The rubble and the debris and the wreckage of that looks very similar to the San Francisco earthquake and the Great Chicago Fire and the firebombing of Dresden. And it seems like there's some other mechanism here for taking large areas out while leaving, mostly going after metal, actually, in terms of what gets really destroyed. I don't know. There's more research to be done. Matt has some good thoughts on this too, Landman.
There was a question that kind of caught me off guard. Orgonite is, I just want to say this is for the person asking about the abortion.
Don't worry about that. That dude's just trying to be goofy.
Oh, okay. I'm like, so I mean, hey, I answer every one of my emails, man. Like I answer the questions.
Let it go.
So much so that Carol has kindly been the parental hammer smackdown and said, like, focus on this and this and this and this instead, or more coherently. But anyway, in the case of the fires and the smoke and all of that, like it is so strategically placed. And if you can get these things out there, especially to a lot of these targets, actually, since you mentioned about these places that have been destroyed, part of the reason or the motivation for going to visit Carol was I had done, I'd seen a video recently. Somebody was talking about this portal that runs through, it's an energy portal that runs through, it's connected to the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, and it's connected to the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and the Lions Gate Bridge, I believe, in Vancouver. And that it's this triangle of crap that I don't know the whole logistics of it. When I heard about it, I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and like listen more about this. And I was like, oh, Carol, what a coincidence. Like, here's where we're going and this is what we're doing. And we're ticking off these places along the way that happen to go through this energy portal. At the same time, I had a very large group of people from San Francisco reach out to me. There's a lot of people in San Francisco who are now doing this. I've sent a ton of stuff. Before our trip, I was trying to gift everything like I did in Arizona. That's what I'm reevaluating because I simply can't afford to do it myself anymore. But for a while, there were about 3 or 4 weeks, I probably sent out about 500 pipes between Portland, Seattle, Spokane, San Francisco, Reno, Tahoe, and I'm trying to think a few others, Coeur d'Alene, of course. And so anyway, like there's a lot going on in that area. More stuff needs to get buried there. I think you'd see all that smoke go away. But also I'm interested to see what happens with this potential portal. you know, everything's occult in this world. We all know this, or energetic or whatever. So anyway.
What do you think, Carol? And can I show this picture you put in here?
Yeah, sure. I think that's one of Damon. That's my son. Okay. So that's along the Colorado River. And I thought this was really cool because I was telling him about the wind. It was just a regular, like, plain old Colorado day. But the wind was blowing so bad and he wanted to stand on the railroad track and take a picture. And there's a couple other ones I got and he's just like blowing around. But to see that instantly and have it happen every single time we hit a spot down there was super cool. Not to mention, they put a ton of towers and devices along the riverways. So the more I hang out with Mitch, the more I understand, like, it's like as above, so below. They're not
There's
just
also maybe something up with the tracks, the train tracks, because in the research about the
Bingo.
old world,
They follow the
that
ley
got
lines.
cannibalized by the invaders. Yeah, the tracks were already there. They were mostly just unburied, not built, you know. And when you look at all the things that were supposedly built at the time that they were, it's so stupid. Like, they were building these elaborate canals supposedly at the same time that they're making said canals obsolete with train tracks. Like, which was the priority here? And this was during Civil War and Reconstruction era when the country was all messed up. Like, anyway, it's a tangent, but don't believe
the train tracks are
his
very
story.
important. I mean, especially I would say for Orgonite gifting now, I'm going to be very clear. There are rules that you have to follow, and I am not endorsing anybody do anything, any type of activity. You never have to do anything that would be considered illegal or unlawful in order to gift properly. I want that to be very clear, so I'm not condoning this. However, train tracks, this is one of the things I wish my friend, who she was unable to chime in with us tonight, but train tracks are how the telegraph worked. They're an antenna. They've been an antenna. They were always an antenna. They are along ley lines for good reason. They knew exactly what they were doing building the railroads. It wasn't about transporting stuff. That's the side effect, or the perk of it, the additional perk. So
it was about connecting everything to everything energetically.
Yeah,
because that way, we could be in the perpetual flow of synchronicity between humanity and nature, and all parts, communicating.
Yeah. All the big cities that were connected, they wanted you to think that, oh, these big cities that formed, it was all because they were on water. Well, that was also because of the energy of those cities. That's why all the worst cities in the world are on water, as far as like low vibration and being what I would call a hellhole. But they follow the same thing with the train tracks too, and how they were all connected when the railroads were built. So using the information of knowing where tracks are, take that information as you see fit to do whatever it is that you would like to do, and fill in the blanks. So, it's an antenna. So I think the way that they use these things to their advantage, we can use these things to our advantage too. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just wanted to point that out since we're talking about train tracks. So.
No, I think actually you guys touched on so many things that I found super interesting and important. There are train tracks that literally run all the way across down by the Colorado River. And I don't know, creating waves that interfere with, I guess, your antenna and your connection to everything is probably what this is all about. And I couldn't agree more with Mitch when he talks about how, like, 5G is anti-life. So when you get out and you actually start gifting everything, you see the life come back into certain places. You see, you could see how many areas that are covered in towers, the vibe of those places just feel like, I want to get the hell out of this town. It feels like I'm around a bunch of bots. Like, people don't seem real. It feels like you're in like that, like, Costco type shopping center, just out in nature. So I don't know. It definitely, like, I feel like everybody should experience getting out and gifting and seeing what happens.
And definitely pay attention to those the vibes you get from these places. Where we live, Carol, the tracks, I was so impressed. Like, I was not on the verge of tears, but on the verge of tears, driving through Idaho, to get to your house because of all the waterways. I could not believe how much water there is in Idaho, and especially like running water, flowing water, which is what they're trying to shut off with these frequencies. And the train tracks for the railroads ran along the streams too. The whole, I mean, just all through the mountains, every winding turn, and you look over, it's like there's the tracks again, and it follows the source of the water. So it's like there's no coincidence. And when you start looking for this stuff, you're gonna see it, whether you know exactly why something was there. When you start gifting, you're gonna be like, your spidey sense is gonna tingle nonstop on figuring out like why they put this here. Why is this set up the way that it is? And when you go to places like Carol and I have talked about different towns we've each been to over the last couple of months where we drive through, it is a heebie-jeebies. I mean, if anyone listening to this happens to live in or around Kingman, Arizona, for me, that is one of the most eerie places I've ever been. I don't like it. Also, Munns Park up the hill between here and Flagstaff, I actually think is a decoy town, kind of like Newtown, Connecticut, where the I won't even go there, but where something happened.
Oh, something happened.
Some things happened.
That
Where,
was just a
as
movie.
some idiots would
totally
say,
fake.
like things happened, or there were books that showed and did a very good job of showing they didn't actually happen. But anyway, there are decoy cities. There are eerie places, and around Arizona, and really this whole side of the country is probably all just a gigantic lava tube filled with military bases and stupid bullshit that's meant to invert the natural realm as an energy conductor. And so it didn't start yesterday. It didn't start with the foundation of the United States. It's been there forever.
Cat's been doing this thing for a long time.
Pretty much. And so these things are changing those frequencies back. It's why earth pipes are the bomb. I shouldn't say it like that. It's why earth pipes are the
Pipe
shit.
bombs.
They are not. I had a. Oh, by the way, don't go on. You don't travel in certain aluminum tubes with wings with those devices unless you put them in your checked bags. Then they should be okay. Don't carry it on. Somebody actually messaged me recently, and unfortunately, they confiscated it. However, we believe, according to her, the TSA took it to bury in their own yard. They had to remove it for obvious reasons. They said it was a blunt object, and it could be interpreted as like a hammer. Which is better that they thought it was that than anything else. But anyway, she convinced them to, I guess, take it home and was like, please don't waste this. Please go put this in your yard. And so anyway, it wasn't the end of the world. But yeah, anyway, I feel like I apologize. I feel like I should be answering like questions or something if people have.
You should. What are you doing, man?
I know.
Yeah. How about we listen to a voicemail?
We've got voicemails that have questions in them, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
So, keep in mind, we've got like, if we're fitting into the format of 2 hours, I don't know if we are. We got like 20 minutes. And by 20, I mean 15. But, no worries. I'm going to play this voicemail from Gabriel. And I think that I screened a little bit of it because I can't trust that guy. Just kidding. I just wanted to know what he was going to say. And he said he had 3 questions. So we'll see what we can do with answering and concise. And I don't know if this is one of the questions, but one that I've been holding on to was about Herkimer, double terminated Herkimer diamonds, as opposed to just regular quartz. Like if that would be extra lit. Can you answer that question before I play the voicemail?
Actually, I played the voicemail first.
Okay.
Well, I mean, because the short answer to that question is I'm actually not the person to ask for that. That's where I wish I had my friend Fox on here to be able to answer that.
Fox said they're having problems staying in the stream.
We get disconnected all the time. She had sent me a separate message, and she's like, I'm assuming maybe she's also being screwed with as far as connectivity.
When I was talking to Michelle, we couldn't keep the Zoom call going.
Yeah.
She went to an office building that her friend worked at just so she could get super fast internet because it wasn't working from her house to talk to me. And we were still getting disconnected. It was one of the weirdest calls on Zoom I've had in 5 years, maybe ever. So I don't know. Something's up. Maybe the alphabet's watching, but bring it on. Anyway, Herkimers are the same thing as quartz, but somehow cooler. I'm not exactly sure. But here goes the voicemail. And also thanks for all the tips on Rockfin. Just got one from Jen Brewster. There, you know, a little bit goes a long way. All you guys can just keep chipping in. Help me do more of this. All right, voicemail time.
Hell yeah, Jen.
Hey, everybody. Much love. I got a question for Mitch. A three-part question.
Oh,
One
boy.
is, what happens if you use double terminated Herkimer diamonds? My second question is, would a powerful CME from the sun have any effect on the gifts? And my third question is, what happens if the pipes are attached to kinetically moving object like a Ferris wheel or the propellers of a windmill? Much love, everybody. Loving this show. Peace and strength.
I want to answer the third question first, because I have thought about actually building a windmill specifically to rotate against the wind, or to be wind powered, with things like this that I mentioned with the spinning rotations, if there's a way to automate that. Having an earth pipe that is not connected to the ground is probably, in my view, it's a tower buster still. It is still an orgone device that's going to be transmitting the frequency. So, you know, the worst thing it can do is maybe not be as effective as it could be in its fullest potential. The earth pipes really work the best when they're the conductivity of the soil has been made, and it can actually, it's like an acupuncture needle for the earth. A lot of folks will bury them in planters, and I have to remind them, no, like if the planter is cut off from the ground, or they're on, like, they'll be like, oh, can I get this and put it on my deck or on my second story apartment? I'm like, well, it's a tower buster as of right now. You should go figure out a way to get it in the earth. And it goes about 2 inches below the earth. Okay, so hopefully that helps answer the first one. If you can keep them in motion, like on a windmill, they're working. I mean, it's kind of like a power wand. If you're gonna take the time to add movement to it, you're gonna stir up energy with it. So I think that would be better than if it were stationary and not buried. Either bury it or find a way to keep it in motion, I guess. So hopefully that helps to clarify that one. In regards to the Herkimer diamonds, you actually just reminded me, somebody's supposed to send me some. If you're the person who promised me you're going to send me some, please do, because I kind of want to see them. Somebody was going to give them to me as a gift, and I completely forgot. I don't use them.
Michael Wan just has dropped some really interesting gravy on Herkimer diamonds in his recent work, and you can also
I'll
hear
have to
it on
check
his
it out.
THC interview, the Higher Side Chats.
Okay.
Michael Wan, by the way, I've got to get him back here soon.
Yeah, we watch him all the time.
One Day of Brightness.
Yeah.
One Day of Brightness, he literally gave a seminar on how to no longer be in the Matrix fake time and how to be in real time again.
Okay, so
you guys.
Well, I go.
Brightness.
Okay, well, I go. Wild. Answer the other two questions. Remember the time concept and remind me of it in a minute. So a lot of people do use the Herkimer diamonds, which is a form of quartz, but you know, they'll work. Some people, it's a mixed review thing. A lot of people, you use what works for you. You don't even have to use super high quality gemstones to make this stuff, and a lot of people think that because there's so much really expensive orgonite out there. For earth pipes, I use very basic terminated quartz points. If you're building a chem buster, you want to use quartz that is terminated. Most of the time you'll use double terminated, so it's pointed on both ends. And a lot of people do make chem busters with Herkimer diamonds in them. And so I would say it's something you're going to have to probably play with. I can't say one's better than the other. The worst thing a piece of orgonite can be is ineffective. And that's really going to be more about, did you make it with enough metal? The crystal has less influence on this device. And I want to listen to Crazy Fox here. Oh, okay. I'll answer that one in a second. So anyway, in regards to the Herkimer, yeah, you're going to have to play around with that stuff. And I'm not really the expert, but you're going to hear people say that they use that stuff and they swear by it. If you're gifting a lot, I wouldn't recommend it because it's expensive. So you want to keep things efficient, and you can make you can make a lot of these and take out a lot of, or gift a lot of towers. But if you're using Herkimer diamonds, yeah, it's going to affect your budget. Second question, I'm trying to remember. How did it go? Chance, can you remind me? Thank you.
Me? I'm
It
juggling
was,
so much.
I'm
Carol,
trying to remember. It was
on
the
you.
Herkimer diamonds and then kinetic, he mentioned
Spinning
it,
keeping them in motion.
which was number 3. Can if anyone points it out while I,
This is a short voicemail. I could replay it.
yeah, let's just do that. Just do that. And even just skip to that
Let
part.
me pull it up. I'm not.
And I will say, in regards to time, while you're doing that, what I was going to say is that what I have noticed is that on the high vibratory days, the bluest of sky, after huge gifting adventures, huge rains, lots of wind, puffy clouds, that kind of stuff, those days last longer. Sometimes I'm working and I'm like, it's 11 o'clock in the morning and I feel like it's almost like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, what's going on? And it happens every single time. And what I think is, I'm wondering, I'm hypothesizing if what are these towers, or could these frequencies or these frequency weapons be speeding up the concept of time, and that this energy that puts it back in nature that flows coherently is now back in a natural loop where it's kind of like, you remember as a
think
kid,
about it,
time
man. All
took
the
longer.
electronics, all the internet stuff, everything in the digital world runs on Gregorian time. And there's no such thing as Tuesday. There's no such thing as 9:52 p.m. There's no such thing as any of that. There's no such thing as September, right?
Yeah.
There's actually, all there is the realm and the luminaries moving around. That's the real time. So the fact that everything that's data in that signal, in that noise, is also time stamped with like when the transmission went and it was exactly this time, 3:32 p.m. or whatever. Maybe that has something. I mean, there is a time connection there that like we're in these devices waiting for like 8 p.m. RANT goes on. There's all kinds of aspects of time that are like, you can't even have this internet stuff without the time, is what I mean. Anyway, the fake time.
Just always in your face. I've often wondered if just the frequency of AI and the towers like interferes with dreaming.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh
Thank you.
yeah. If I don't unplug the Wi-Fi, now I just don't even. Now I almost never have the Wi-Fi on. I figured out a way to not need Wi-Fi to have my wired internet either. But like, if I would go to sleep with that shit on, I'd get the old hags on me and stuff, like full on like sleep paralysis shit. It's horrible.
We did, just so you guys know too, we got
Wi-Fi on.
We did get the second question. It was about the CME. Thank you, Enoch. Second question was, what happens to the pipes if strong solar CME comes in? That is something I'm not going to lie. I actually kind of
high pay grade question.
I wish for it almost every day, because I believe with what I see putting this puzzle together, I have a suspicion that it's happened before. It probably happens as a default mechanism to protect this realm. And when it happens, it's going to take everything on a certain vibratory path with it. And
I got a really crazy conspiracy theory. What if that doesn't actually happen the way we're being told? And that's just what they're going to call it when they shut down the internet because we got too lit.
I mean,
we kept connecting with each other.
Is that too pessimistic? I don't know.
No, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think that there will be, if anything goes in our favor to such a high degree, it crosses my mind that there will be a red switch that is flipped, and that's, if they can't control us,
that would also
no
be
one
in
can
our favor.
control us. That's
there, which would still net, then we would still
exactly.
Win.
It'd still be. I mean, they could blow up everything, I guess, if they really wanted to. And it's like, you still technically, from what we know about life and death, you'd be doing everybody a favor, I guess. I'm not encouraging that, but you know what I'm getting at. Please don't put words in my mouth if anybody's.
Well, we just can't lose.
That.
We're literally
exactly
energy in self-existing perpetuity.
As long as we don't do
no
certain.
Answers.
Yeah, you just do certain things though. In regards to what happens to the pieces, I mean, I obviously don't know that. However, there are videos I have done, and I did these in the first interview on InnerVerse that I did, where we were looking at the sky pictures. We were looking at wind. When wind comes in, that doesn't even affect the clouds. And I've recorded a lot of clouds that look like clouds that move based on the magnetic fields, and show that cloud movement has nothing to do with with the wind direction, because they're essentially electrifying the clouds to try and move them and position them how they want to strategically block the sun for as long as they can all the time. In the case of a CME, I think that it would be similar to those days where I can feel the solar energy coming in. There's usually heavy chemtrail spraying. I get the most messages on those days about everyone freaking out that they've got this shit in their sky. I can feel the energy. I can feel it, like, from all the work I've done, that I'm like, this is a good day and they want to stop this. There's something about this. I don't think those devices, if anything, they're triggered to be more powerful. This is why, like, you have to make, if you're going to make Orgonite, you have to be in a good mood. It's a lot of intention. A lot of people have heard this. You
Dude,
can't.
it's the same thing with sound healing. Like, I can't do that for people unless I'm in the zone all day. I can't just be like, not taking care of my energy, and then at 3 o'clock when it's time for the session, like, okay, let's do this. I have to literally live the life of my best life, where I can't even offer help to anybody. So really important advice with making the Orgonite, that you want to be centered. You want to be in your treasure chest. You want to be, like, optimistic. You want to have your intention set. You want to be in flow, I guess, is the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
You want to love life. Like, you gotta really love life.
Yeah.
I mean, Carol, what was it like when you were, because we went out in the, I mean, she filmed my tutorials for me, and bravo, by the way. But, sitting there making it, there were, sitting there with a pan of Tower Busters. It's like, what, I don't know. It was quiet, like, because you had, I think maybe, did you mention something about music? And I'm like, no music, no whatever. Like, it's just, you're in the zone and it's just you and the mosquitoes, but it was just you. And so, that's, I don't know. Maybe other people make it differently, but, I just think, we program this stuff. I think you programmed those pucks. So yeah, I don't know. I just want to be clear, I guess, about that.
Yeah. Setting your intention is important in front of everything. Like, you should do everything consciously and with intention. Because if you act unconscious at any minute, like, somebody else is making conscious decisions on your behalf. So part of this work is, like, really waking me up to see that as well. But even so, setting intention prior to making Orgonite, and then setting intention as you're bearing it, especially if you say words out loud in a group and everybody has that, like, same intention, you're really making an impact.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm like scrolling and looking at different comments and whatnot. I have to laugh because
this is a good episode.
Somebody asked a question, and I'm assuming they're joking, but it was about, like, how do I help the sorcerers and counter the people putting the Orgonite around the towers? And I'm like, Frank? I was thinking CIA Frank. Like, is that you?
No, Crazy Fox is cool. Pretty sure. I don't know.
I figured it was a joke, but then when I saw Fox, I was like, oh, is that, like, my friend?
You can't trust these people. They think that we're just here to clown around or something.
I mean, you have to. I will say, like, when you start doing this stuff, like, do it with a light heart. It is a lot more lighthearted than you would think. Everybody
it's
gets,
like, you want to reverse engineer from the goal. I mean, the point is that we're trying to get to lighter hearts and lighter lives.
Yeah, I mean, the entire point of this is to, like, create the world in which you want to be. Or, well, I'm trying to be Gandhi here, but I'm just saying, like, be the change you want to see. Somebody wrote a very kind email to me about that. They said, Mitch, that for the first time, that quote made sense to me. And I saw it was after seeing the second episode of yours. And I was, like, really touched by it, because you have to do this lighthearted. You probably will get a little, I mean, it's inevitable. Everybody's going to get fucked with at some point, but you have to do it with a positive intention. It's like, even as dark as the subject is, it's like, yeah, we're talking about global or worldly domination of, the frequency war and the battle for the soul and all that other stuff. But, like, it's, thank you. We're kicking ass and taking names. That's what the fuck we're doing.
If you want to be the hero, act like it. This is a LARP. So true.
It is. It's rewarding and it's fun. And I love hearing from people that are excited about it. It just, and if you want to message me too, I will say, like, keep away from the novels, just because it's so hard for me to read. I want to be able to communicate with people that are jumping in and doing this. So just get to the point. You know, I had somebody write
You
to
gotta
whom it
ease
may
him into
concern.
it, you know, like
Yeah,
get him to
well,
like you a lot, and then he'll read a novel.
Exactly. Honestly, I won't be the least bit offended if you just say, like, if you just jump right into the first question, like, how
Bro,
do
you
you
were
do this,
sending me
or
novels
Word,
today on
you know,
text. What is this?
what, me?
He sent me a long text today while I was at the grocery store, and I was like, I want to answer this, but he'll
Oh,
understand.
well,
I'm just joking, man. Just roasting
no,
you.
I think it was about Carol. Can Carol come on? I think that's what I was asking.
I'm so glad she's here. I want her
Um,
to talk more. We need to let room for that.
yeah,
Also,
I'm sorry I talked too much.
it's okay. I'm really criticizing you a lot right now. I'm sorry, Mitch.
No, it's all fine. Dude, I've heard. Wait, what is it? There's a phrase. If anybody ever insults you, you say, "I've heard worse from better."
Oh my God. Yeah. You should
And
the first email I sent you, Mitch.
oh, that was fun, Carol. It was so sweet. She wanted to help, and I thought she was like a 18, 19, maybe 20-year-old who I'm like, this person wants to drop everything in life and come to my house and stay here. I'm like, does she want to sleep outside? Because it made it sound like, because you camp a lot. And I'm like, I was like, so here's how we really gift, and thank you for the interest and all that stuff. And like, I have a process, I do this thing, whatever. And I was kind of hesitant, but little did I know we'd become BFFs. And it was just funny because at the time I'm like, oh, you're an adult, that's okay. So I thought she was just like this random person that, you know, I was telling my partner, this person emailed me and wants to literally like come here and help us and like do all this stuff. And I'm like, what? It's rare. It's rare that anybody says things like that and has a serious intention. And frankly, now with Carol's the only person right now, well, her and actually Fox, they both know the shit show of what my email inbox looks like. From the shenanigans I've been getting lately. And Carol, thank you. You so diligently have. I'm like, she's like, you're going to lose followers because she thinks they come off cold. And I'm like, no, I need this cattle prod to. So also somebody just asked, do you have to say Orgone 5 times every time you gift for it to work? Actually, no, it's 8. Otherwise, I think your family will die. Is that how it works? Like, you don't tie your shoelaces. What?
How dare you curse her family?
No, kidding. I used to actually I had a compulsive, when I was a kid, it was 8 times. And I'm convinced I had that when 7. I'm convinced I had it from frequency.
I think 9
as a child.
9's a good measure.
My shoes could not touch, and I'm not joking. And it was very sad. And yeah, no, it's obviously that's not the case now, but.
Guys, I'm going to move us to the goalposts. I know we could just keep going, but I have a life.
I'm glad.
Yeah, that's so great. Carol, let's go celebrate.
Chance, wait, I want to know more about sound healing. How long have you done that?
What? This is a great idea. Thank you. I will advertise my services because I actually could use some clients. I don't have much on the calendar right now. And
I could drive down there. I could be a client.
You could, and you're totally welcome to. I've got some great.
She'll do it.
You can even camp in my backyard if the couches aren't good, but
I'm there.
All right, do it. That's a great. Come help me gift out here. I actually need some help. I need some help. I'm too busy to get into the gifting. I know that's a terrible excuse, but like I see all these eyes of Sauron towers around me, and I'm like, walls are closing in. I need to do something about it, but I also need to tell the world about cool shit on the internet. Anyway, sound healing is a thing that I can do remotely. So if you really don't want to wait, it goes super well remotely. I have tuning forks. I work in the aura to find where there's a communication breakdown between some part of your energy field and the rest of yourself. I restore that bottled up or compartmentalized energy to your core, and it goes really great.
I'm going to do it. Actually, I'm going to call you and set up something online, remote. I think that's cool.
That'd be awesome. So if anyone is interested in that, hit me up. Email me, chance@innerversepodcast.com is a good way to email me. I don't have it like right now. I'm just kind of letting it be a you got to know thing. It's not on my website, but as far as Henry asked in the chat, you can do it online with the microwave radiation and towers mess with all that. I mean, I don't actually even need us if you're worried about that, we don't even have to be on the phone for the session. You don't have to be able to hear it. Biofield tuning is super effective. Though I'll just leave it at that. I don't need to advertise it further. is a thing. If you wanted more information, hit me up. I've talked about it in a lot of places on like full on episodes where I present on it. So it's a thing. But anyway, you guys got anything before we wrap up you want to say? I want to hear from both of you for sure. And Mitch has thoughts about time. Maybe that we have. I have time for that.
That's why I'm so bad. You should do an episode. If you ever do an episode on that, I want to, because I'm so bad with it. I always say,
I'll let you know. I'm going to definitely get Michael Wan on to talk about his
who I very much love. Yes.
Oh, good.
We watch him a lot with Emily, with his friend Emily Moyer. We watch them quite a bit.
So cool.
Yeah, no, they're just
he's
fun.
Like a role model for me. He's a wizard. He's an artist. He's doing it all. Dream life.
You know, Alexandra mentioned about the sucker punch. She travels with hers. I travel with mine. If you want to take devices on an airplane, you know, like what Chance has there, that blue one, things like that you can take. There's no real issue. I actually took duffel bags, plural, several, to Costa Rica.
You gotta tell people what a sucker punch is too.
A sucker punch is when you take, I'll just show, I have a crystal knot hooked up to one right now, but it's a type of knot that is blasted with a frequency generator. It makes a cloaking device. You take a 15 hertz, my battery on that one went out. But you take a 15 hertz zapper and you run it into a wire that then runs around a Mobius coil, which is just a knot tied around a quartz point, and it creates a very chaotic scalar wave around.
And then you won't see black helicopters following you from
well,
tower to tower.
It helps with psychic attacks from the gifting. I take it to travel like I'm sure Alexandra does because I don't fly well. But it's like it's a personal protection device, and they're fantastic. Things like that, you know, anything that's out in the open, you can travel with easily. I had some tower busters, like just the generic ones, where if you can't see what's inside, they stopped and whatever. I ended up giving the TSA Orgonite. They were all fine with it and whatever. So people don't over worry. That's what I would say is don't over worry about things, but leave the pipes in your checked baggage.
The bad
exactly. But the only other thing I would say then is I would love to hear from people. I like hearing from people anyway, but specifically on, I would say, this side of the Rockies. If you live anywhere around the water sources that are being attacked right now, I can't provide Orgonite for the entire world anymore. And I feel like there's other services within this same scope that I can be doing to magnify the benefit. So reach out to me if you know, especially if you live near Lake Mead. There are several states surrounding this body of water that we're all being told is going to be out of water by January, which is a crock of shit. But Lake Mead, Lake Powell, anywhere in the Battery that is the state of Nevada, Southern California, all these places that are still struggling. You know, if you basically outside of Arizona, or if you live in the northern half of Arizona, you know, let's try to get some more action there with this stuff, because the jet stream is bringing so much into the country. And that rain, I mean, our drinking water does not come from rain. That's confusing for some people. They think that we get rain and that's our water. It doesn't. It comes from the ground, and the frequencies have been used to turn off that water that would come up. But the rain will, like when that happens, the earth is telling itself it needs to rain here and here and here and here. And the towers are turning that off. So let's get that turned back on. Let's basically flood this bitch so that it's all like Arizona. Because if everywhere was like what we just had this summer, I mean, there's rivers that didn't exist that are now here. So it's kind of like, let's get that water brought back up to this realm and shut down this stupid climate nonsense, and, you know, repair the water supply, make it impossible for them to push this crap anymore, because it's a lot for very few people to carry. And I'm seeing it grow.
Bring the rivers back. That's how we beat the desert sky gods.
I mean, you look around here, I mean, it's a whole other show, and we'll do it sometime, I'm sure. But this was an oasis once, and I have a feeling that where I sit right now, someday we'll probably be underwater, but not because of receding, or not because of shorelines and global warming and rising sea levels. That's not how this works. It's the water's coming back to this place.
Yeah, let's get a new job for Greta Thunberg.
Oh my God.
Let's keep her employed and on TV until she's a grandma. I would love that.
Well, so many opinions, Carol. You triggered me. But I want to hear what Carol. I want to hear what else Carol has to say. That's all. I'm sorry.
I want to say that Alan Marcus just wrote a really sweet comment about me, and it flashed above the screen. Thank you, Alan. You're sweet.
Alan's the man.
Yeah, That was kind. And what else do I have to say? I want to say that, oh my gosh, back to this connection thing, that people are using the internet to connect to everything. And Chance, I know that's how you're doing a lot of your connecting, and I think that's awesome. And I feel like that's something that we're doing a really good job at. And when you're outside in public and you get a chance to interact with people face to face, I think maintaining connection and talking like you really care about people and sharing something about Orgonite or sound healing with them is like really where this change is like going to happen, and wake people up to stuff, or recognize that there's a soul in people. And you can see that like not everybody's falling for this evil dumbass agenda. So I would say, like, as long as there's connection happening, let it happen. I had to get my ass off the internet because I was just wasting time.
Yeah, there's a right way to internet.
Yeah. And then there was the way I did
There's
it.
a lot of wrong ways.
There's a way we all do. But
Hey, I want to drop.
I just have to say too, I just heard thunder and I checked the forecast and looked out with the light. It's raining here. I just had to say that.
Season's on.
I mean, I think it's a light sprinkle, but
third
it wasn't in
spring.
the forecast. So
Hey, it's just for fun. I wanted to pull a card for Mitch and Carol off my I Ching deck. So Carol, you get the Wanderer. It's pretty appropriate. It's about traveling, adventure, movement, coping with unfamiliarity, a pilgrimage, aloneness, and broadening your horizons. So it's represented by the passionate, clinging, fiery energy being supported by the stillness, the inner stillness of the mountain. So, you know, that just seems to be self-explanatory. You get around and you're very independent and self-reliant, and you make that travel based on your passions, and you maintain a rock solid core of inner peace and stillness, clearly. So, you know what? That's a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, that's perfect.
Carol, you are a badass. So, and she's actually gotten me to be less particular about certain things. So you're free spirit. Yeah.
Mitch gets the arousing, that orgone, sexy energy.
Ooh.
Oh Lord.
Lightning over lightning.
Baby.
This is literally orgone energy, though. In the I Ching, in my opinion, the lightning bolt, trigram, whatever you want to call it, trigrams, I guess is what you call it. This is the shake-up energy. And I feel like so many people seeing you on my show and Lindsay's show and now Alpha Vedic, it's like, whoa, this is my wake-up call. There's actually, I don't have to just complain and be in a spiral of the world sucks. I can do something about it. So I feel like that's hella fitting for you.
Yeah. I was thinking today,
card,
just
lightning.
when I see the lightning, I think, you know, if I was a superhero, I wanted to be, I mean, she was a woman as a kid growing up, though. I was always into Storm from the X-Men. And I always thought it's kind of funny what I ended up doing with my adult years so far. Oh my, I'm going to lose an internet
right now, right?
Yeah, I'm going to lose an internet here.
And this was the card from my read yesterday too, that I did for the world. So it's back. Since I did pull I Ching cards, I want to throw out there too, another way you could work with me is you could hire me to do a personal read for you. The way I'd like to do it is not to have like a back and forth so much as you hit me up, send me some reciprocation in the form of funny money. I will send you back a video that is targeted to your question. You don't even have to tell me the question, but anyway, we can do this. I can sort of sell you your own personal video in the manner of which I do them in the mornings on my channels.
Yeah.
So,
if you guys haven't listened to Chance's card pulls, like, it is worth listening to. I feel like a lot of people on the global, like the whole world is like, they're hitting synchronistic patterns. So it impacts a lot of people. And they resonate with things differently, but I feel like those are awesome. And Mitch, you are a superhero to me.
Well, you are to me as well, and we both have had we've
superhero.
had those pillow fights where we talk about why. But and also, Chance, I know we're running out the clock, but I gotta say too, to any of your because I love your group.
Totally.
The energy is just it's a certain kind that has a special place for me. And so I just want to say to anybody, if you're ever in Sedona and you know, I try my best with my time. I'm going to go ahead and start a speakeasy type of setup to where if people come here and then knock on the door 3 times, when I open the door, all they have to say is Chance Ball Shaver, and I will sit there for 2 hours and show them how to make whatever it is they want for Orgonite.
We need an
So-
Orgonite fest.
And if
Yesterday
you
in
only
the
just
Rock Creek
tuned
chat,
in-
we said we need we need a meetup, like gifting meetup.
If you just tuned in, then you have to go back to the beginning of the video. But yeah, no. So Chance Ball Shaver, that's going to be the secret word. So
That's a great phrase. That feels like my new nickname. Thanks for
Aw.
that. Okay, so there's
Thank
2
you,
things we're gonna
everybody.
do now at the end. First, I'm gonna play Snake Jones, the badass walking orgasm known as Snake Jones. He left us a 2-minute video of himself at the Cahokia Mounds, and this is him getting connected to the land, doing human earth orgone acupuncture grid work. So let's check that out, and then we can comment on that. That'll be fun. And then I'm going to play us out with music. I actually made a visualizer graphics thing just like I do for a normal InnerVerse episode for this one. So that's fun. Anyway, we'll get to that. Right. So Snake Jones video first. We are excited to watch this. All right, Snake Jones, look at that handsome bastard.
Okay. I want to come with.
See me?
Yes.
Don't see me? My head and everything?
Yes.
Quiet. Ready?
Mm.
I'm the keeper of the ashes. And I brought the ashes to New York. A great ceremony. Fellowship. Friendship. I'm bringing the ashes here. Call these giants. Let them know. Feel that? Let them know. We need peace. Recognize we're here. And it's our time. Root. Be men. We are of the earth. I am the salt of the earth. I am the living soil. I am the living soul. Grant us the ancestral memory, the power, once and for all, to bring an end to empire, and restore the sacred right of the human being. Thank you for making me a human being, oh Father. Thank you for making me.
You did a good job.
Yes, he did.
I've
You
seen that
guys,
before, but it just gets me pumped. Snake,
That-
that's so epic.
the
The
whole
storm
time
in the background.
it just it's coming down so heavy. So then it just started during that video. That's interesting.
Guess what,
it's-
guys? Everyone listening, you can do cool, creative stuff like that with you in the earth and talk to spirit and summon the power because you have the power. We're all the superheroes. It's not just Mitch, although he's an exceptional one, no doubt.
Yeah.
You guys are even okay. Now you're too kind. Okay, no, you guys are all wonderful, wonderful people, and I'm very, very lucky. So
Well, it's been fun. We're definitely going to do it again. And, call in anytime to a Viibrant. Also, thanks for the tip over on Rockfin, Chad. You guys have been super kind. The music I'm going to play us out with is Vibe Check by Grizz. Felt appropriate. I was listening to that today. And what I'm going to also do is stick around in the chat and chat at y'all for the 3 minutes or so for this music. And Carol, thank you. Mitch, thank you. Fun hangout. And for
Yeah.
the call-ins and all the great interaction from the chat. This is the biggest Viibrant yet. They just keep getting better. Wow, I'm feeling the love. Yeah. All right, bye
Whoa.
everybody, sort of.
What's up, baby? Hope you having a good day. You are now tuned in to WGRZ Live, and we got all that funky shit for you. Good vibes all around for the people. Good vibes all around. Yeah, it's a vibe check. Good vibes all around. Yeah, it's a vibe check. Good vibes all around. Good vibes all around.
Oh, hey, it's me. I'm not supposed to be on here. All right. Bye-bye.